Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the FanBase podcast, episode 2. My name is MrColourss, your host today, and I'm joined here with Fuffy and Wildboar. Hey, guys. It's been a week. How are you guys doing?
A whole week? No way.
Yeah, it's been a whole week since the last episode came out. Sean?
Aren't you just glad that we're all cured now, and we don't have to worry about anything? Conversely, by the time this comes out, it's such a shame about what happened, isn't it?
So honestly, my deepest apologies for upsetting everyone. I didn't realize the consequences of my action.
The hell are you guys talking about?
We don't know yet. We're just predicting the future.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no, because you think about it. It happens all the time. It happens all the time,
Listen,
like when they're recording TV.
I do want to apologize for one thing. I spoke way too much on the last podcast. Very much so. Sumimasen, minasan. So sorry. No one complained about it, but I complained about it.
No one complained about it because you were still talking. We didn't want to interrupt you.
Exactly. But I am the host this time around, but I'm going to make sure my co-hosts have the time to talk to our very wonderful guest. Hey there, Brian.
Hey, what's up? How's it going?
Hey, man. I'd love to introduce Brian here. This is Brian, also known as Niptoon. He is the wonderful audio department head at KRWBY Entertainment or Studios. I'm not sure.
Productions.
KRWBY Productions, that's it. And he voices Neptune on RWBY Abridged. And of course, he voices our very special best boy, Khun. My love interest on the show of Tower of God Abridged. Wonderful.
I appreciate you acknowledging the truth of the matter that
yes,
Khun is
exactly.
in fact best boy.
He is best boy. Dude, what's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you, Mason?
Dude, we're doing awesome. I'm so excited to have you here. We've been wanting to do this podcast for a long time, so it's really wonderful to have you on.
I know. I feel like the first recording session that I had when I first got cast, you were like, you want to do a podcast? And I was like, sure. And then just months went by.
That was months ago. So, I have one question for you that we were trying to get answered. I have chocolate in my mouth.
That's
we were
okay,
trying
I'm
to get
also
answered
drinking.
before we recorded. What's the story of your name, Niptoon?
What's the story of my name, Niptoon?
We're all curious.
That came about when I first joined KRWBY, because initially I wasn't a department lead. I wasn't involved really in any other aspect of KRWBY. And I guess I got to a place where I was interacting with the cast and the crew more, and I was getting to know them better, and my name just in the KRWBY server was Neptune Vasilius, the character that I play, and I just decided one day that I was gonna have some fun, and I was like, well, saying like Niptoon, that sounds stupid, so I'll just make that my name. And then all of my other friends in the server decided to run with it, because all the admins in the server, they had the ability to change people's nicknames. And so I would just show up in the server, and then all of a sudden, rather than Neptune Vasilius, my name would be Niptoon Vagina Sales. Or
that is glorious.
Or nipple toast Vaseline, or
It would change every week, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And so that was like a recurring thing in the KRWBY server for a while, and so but somehow it always made its circuit back around to Niptoon. So when it came time for me to pick a name, an online name that I was going to be credited by, Fuffy can attest to this, because I was just sitting there.
You were debating a lot.
I was debating on what it should be. I was like, fuck. I don't know what my name should be, and I kept I was literally in calls with some of my friends being like, what should my online name be? I don't know. And we kept trying to come up with something cool, and every time we came up with something cool, I was like, no, that's not me. I'm not cool. I can't have a cool name. I need a joke name. I need something that's just I don't take myself seriously enough, so I need a name that represents that. And I was like, you know what? Niptoon. That's the name we're going with.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. That's so did you get that name this was whatever episode your character appeared in, right?
Yeah, I think for them because I mainly do audio stuff for KRWBY, I'm actually credited under my audio name. for all the stuff that I do for KRWBY, but I think for my VA stuff, I'm gonna start going by Niptoon now.
Yeah, because we credit you as Niptoon, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's when I learned and I heard you were like, all right, I'm really thinking about this one. I'll get back to you soon.
I thought
What was your reaction? Like, I just send you, okay, I'm going with Niptoon. Were you just like, really? That's what you came up with?
That
Honestly,
fucking
for
name.
me, I was like, there's got to be a story behind this. Because other than that, I really had nothing else to go off of. I'm just like, all right then.
Fuck it.
So, you're voicing Neptune in the for KRWBY.
Yeah,
And
in
you're
RWBY
voicing
Abridged, yeah.
Khun in KRWBY Abridged.
Yeah, I'm voicing 2 blue-haired boys.
Blue-haired
Dude,
best boys.
I'm looking up Neptune right now. Oh, this guy. Oh, I'll throw a picture of him up on the screen. Oh.
For those of you
Oh, yeah,
listening
that
to
looks
the
like
audio
you.
version of the podcast, Mason has just got up a picture of Neptune from RWBY.
Yes, blue-haired, handsome gentleman. Reminds me very much of our boy Brian here.
Yes, because I have
love
all
it.
the blue hair.
So was KRWBY the first thing you like voice acted in, or was there anything before that?
No. I did. KRWBY was the first thing that I voice acted in the abridged community. But I had been voice acting before then. I had done some fan dubs. And I had also spent a lot of time kind of working on my own projects. Like back when I was in college, I had done voice acting for that. I had gotten a lot of experience like casting and voice directing other people. Got involved in, doing like audio-wise, doing more professional stuff, and then having to do ADR sessions for that, direct people, and that kind of stuff. So that's really... I actually have a lot more experience voice directing than voice acting.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah.
So so KRWBY was the first like abridged thing you did, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, guys, I wanted to bring this up because he sent it to me the other night.
Oh, yes.
The last night. Yeah. Last night. I'm not sure. Have you shown anyone else other than me this thing?
I don't know if I've shown anybody else from FanBase. Did I send you the Macross Delta dub, Fuffy? I don't remember.
I think I might have seen it a long time ago when I was like the first episode of it, maybe when I was like when you'd first auditioned and I was like stalking your casting call page.
I mean, it's password protected, so you can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have seen the audition page, but I don't think you would have
I thought I
been able to
remembered
find-
seeing like a clip of some dub, in like a reel that you had.
Oh, yes, there is a couple instances of that in my sound design reel. Yeah.
Yes. So that's all that I've seen.
Yeah, he sent me the Delta dub, which is something that he did with. It was himself and the what's her name?
She goes online. She goes by Nyoka.
Yeah, Nyoka.
Annika.
Yeah, it's our Anak. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one who plays our Anak now. She's the one who directed and like kind of like produced like made the whole project.
Yeah,
what
it was
is, right?
her. It was her baby.
Yeah, it's absolutely impressive, and for Brian, it's probably he told me that it's probably one of like the most impressive projects he's gotten to work on. You took control. You were the entire sound team, right?
We had a few people on board. I think the entire sound team was 5 people. But I was the supervising sound editor. I did the vast majority of the sound design. And I had an assistant dialogue editor for the first time in my life, and that was glorious.
What's the dialogue? Oh, they just edit the vocals?
Yeah.
I feel like for me, dialogue's the fun part.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what was difficult about doing the dialogue on Delta and why it was so nice having a dialogue editor was that there were a number of people that we were able to record in my home booth where, we had access to Pro Tools and we were able to do ADR the proper way. But there were a bunch of other people who we couldn't do that for. So we had to, record them via Discord or something like that. And they just had to record in ADR terms what we would call wild, where they're not recording to timecode or anything. They're just basically recording one long audio file like you would normally do for most other productions. And the problem with that is that then you have to go in and find all of the takes and line them up with the video.
You have to go through a 50-minute, file of someone's lines for episode 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh God!
And so you have to do that, but it's a little more complicated than just simply finding the lines, because then you have to organize them all in a way that you can easily select them, and edit them together. And there's a special way that we do that in Pro Tools called playlists. And so getting all of the takes organized into playlists was something that needed to be done before the actual real true editing could begin. And that was a really time-consuming process. And so in order to speed it up, I had one of my good friends is a professional engineer over in Nashville, Tennessee, doing a lot of music stuff. I brought him on, and he absolutely killed it, basically getting everything organized into playlists. And it was this really great system where I would send him the audio, the raw audio from the recording session. He would go get it organized into playlists, and I would be editing, actively editing dialogue onto the timeline. And then once I would finish editing a character, he would have finished the preliminary edit for another character, and he'd send that over to me, and I would get started on that, and then he'd get started on another character. So it was this chain thing where we were constantly working, and it was really efficient, really wonderful. And
Ooh, that sounds fun.
And I've never had, that was my first time having an assistant dialogue editor. I've never had an assistant dialogue editor before since then. And every single time I've worked on something without an assistant dialogue editor, I'm like, man, I wish I had an assistant dialogue editor.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. So how'd you get into abridging? How'd you
Or just
how'd you
anime fan projects?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm a huge weeb.
Same.
I got into anime back when I was in college, and I
love when you say that. I'm so sorry. I love when you say that. It makes me feel like you're so much older than me, but you're 23.
Yeah, I'm 24, but
and
yeah.
I'm 22. Oh, 24. I'm
Yeah.
literally 22 years old. I'm it sounds like he's talking this is 2010 or some shit.
Hey, screw you
so
guys.
old.
I was in college in 2010.
I am in college.
Oh, yeah, Buffy is in college. He's fucking 18. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I got into anime back when I was in college, and so I was doing a lot of anime themed projects on my own, just as practice and training and stuff. And then I got into doing, after college, I got into doing more indie projects. And when I moved, I had gone off to college in Florida, and so when I moved back to California, I basically decided, I needed to work on some more stuff, and I got involved in a machinima project and met Annika, and that was when Annika was like, oh, I have this fan dub thing that I really want to do, and I was like, you know what, that sounds cool, let's do it. And so basically she had been involved in the abridged community, she was OG abridged community back in the early or late 2000s to 2010s.
Are we talking DBZ Yu-Gi-Oh abridged
yeah.
old school?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
What was she had been, I mean, she had been in smaller stuff. That was back when she was just getting her start, but she was around during that time. Okay. And it's kind of crazy seeing some of the people that she was voice acting with. She was voice acting in a Kill la Kill abridged alongside X Bubble Monkey X, before she went on to do Asuna and Sword Art Online abridged. Yeah.
Wait.
He just made the realization.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. Hold up. I forgot. Is that who's playing Anak right now?
Yeah. This is Annika. Yeah.
Like awesome.
No. No, that's Carrie.
No. She was with.
Yeah, she was voice acting alongside.
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to say.
Yeah, no.
Yo, when did no
You're
one
making
told
too
me?
many connections now. You're gonna short circuit. We have to reboot Mason.
You're gonna kill me.
Yeah, so you're Yeah. So she was like, she had connections from that. She knew a lot of people in the VO community. And so we pulled in a lot of her connections to do Delta. And so I guess there were connections in that regard, but we hooked up with this guy who actually my assistant dialogue editor, Nathaniel, knew, Cole Jackson. And he came in at the last minute on Delta because we were trying to get it ready for like a con. We were showing it at a con. It wasn't like it was a very, very small con.
Cole Jackson as in like Cole from
KRWBY. And yes,
from KRWBY. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And so he introduced us to Cole, and because he had said like, oh, I know this guy who's really great at voice acting, and we were like, okay, well, we've kind of already cast all the characters, like maybe for some extras or something, but then last minute we had to recast an actor because it just wasn't working. Like we had thought it was all working, and then we got it into the editing stage, and I was like listening to it, and I was like, oh god, this isn't working. So
yeah, Cole has like a $1,200 microphone too. Doesn't
yeah,
he?
He's got the same mic as I do.
Yeah, he's got really nice.
Yeah, and so he, like all of a sudden I was on the phone with Nathaniel, and I was like, so tell me about this voice actor, you know?
Yeah,
and
listen, Cole's a savage. All right, he played 6 roles in Bakugan Abridged alone by himself. All right.
Yeah, he's super talented, and so I like. He got us in touch. Like he made this like super ghetto demo reel for us, and like it was literally like it was like him sitting at a kitchen table. Like it was a video of like him sitting at a kitchen table with like a blue Yeti, and he was just like doing like impressions from like Dragon Ball Z and RWBY and like
why?
And so
is it a joke?
Yeah, and so like we were like, okay, well that's an unorthodox demo reel, but like clearly the guy's got some talent. And so we brought him in, and we pretty much like we did a live audition with him, and we pretty much cast him on the spot, and started recording for him. And after his recording session, like Cole was really, really good about just staying in touch. Like he would message me like once a week being like, hey, you know, what's the update on Delta? Like he was super excited for the project. And so I just talked with him like over and over and over again. And he, of course, had been involved with KRWBY for a long time. And so when KRWBY had open auditions for some characters, like he messaged me and he was like, hey, you should try out. And so I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like fun. I guess I can do that. So I did. I tried out for KRWBY, and I got cast as Neptune. And it was really once I got cast as Neptune that I had known what abridging was. I had like seen some of Hellsing Ultimate abridged, but KRWBY was like my first foray, I guess, really into seriously being into the abridged world. And like I got a lot of recommendations from people on KRWBY, like, you know, Sword Art Online abridged, Dragon Ball Z abridged, Hellsing Ultimate abridged, you know, and they're like, you should really check these out. And I did, and I was like, this is fucking awesome.
This is the best. This is what I've always wanted.
Yeah, like I love comedy, I love parody, I love all that kind of stuff. So from there, that was like, all right, I'm in this community now, and I'm gonna like do abridged things. So anyways, that's I guess my long-winded journey into like finding abridging.
Dude, hell yeah, dude. That's amazing. What's your favorite abridged series? We love to ask that question.
Oh man,
it's a hard one.
The correct answer,
I
of course,
picked
is
SAO,
Domestic
obviously.
Girlfriend abridged. But anyway, no pressure.
I feel like if I had to pick, my favorite is probably Hellsing Ultimate abridged. That there's just so much brilliance in that abridged series. So many incredibly clever jokes, and so many like jokes that you just are so out there and so crass that you just wouldn't, like, even in an abridged series, you would not normally be able to get away with that stuff if it were any other show except Hellsing Ultimate.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like Hellsing Ultimate, I think is probably my all-time favorite, with SAOA being like a close second.
You know what's really funny? I just showed. So yeah, it was literally yesterday. Yeah, 2 nights ago. I was sitting in a call with Emmy, my girlfriend, and Nutter Butters and Waffleist. I'm not sure if you remember those guys, but they're in here every once in a while. Nutter Butters is the one who plays that sniper guy in Tower of God. That's who that is. They've never heard of Hellsing Ultimate or the abridged version ever. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna show these guys something really good. And so I'm like, guys, come here, I'm gonna show you. We spent 3 hours. I didn't tell them, like, I was like, guys, because like Hellsing Ultimate abridged, like the abridged show, is honestly so good that you don't really need to watch the original show to enjoy and appreciate. You know how like a lot of abridged series, like for instance SAO abridged, really relies on the fact that you need to have watched the original show, at least in some regard, to understand like half the jokes.
I mean, you definitely need to understand a lot of like video game culture, and like there's some things like Laughing Coffin that you need to know about, but honestly, I feel like, you know, you don't need to know that much about SAO to like be able to enjoy SAOA.
Well, yeah, but I think what makes SAOA so charming is the fact that, of course, it uses the inconsistencies of like the original show. Which is why it's so funny, because they're making so much fun of it. But Hellsing Abridged is different, because I showed it to them, like we watched the whole thing through in one night. All 10 episodes, and I was like, this is a fully finished abridged series all the way done. And like they kept on telling me like, dude, we gotta watch more, like go to the next episode. It was really freaking good. And I remember watching it in high school, like growing up, like, you know, episode 4 came out this year, or episode 5, you know, blah blah. There was one part where they're in the middle of the fight, you know, it's you know, Alucard versus the butler guy, right, at the very end.
Ooh, yeah.
And Alucard's now the girl, and he's like sitting there, and he's like, and yes, this is a JoJo reference. When I first watched that episode, I didn't know what the fuck JoJo was. I laughed my ass off when I saw that, and me, Derek, and Dylan and Emmy all watch. We all watch JoJo. So when I had to pause it. They wouldn't stop laughing. They were laughing for like 2 minutes straight. It was great. Just good. It's one of those series that really don't have to.
The fact that it has a succinct start to end, like,
is the best part.
For an abridged series, I feel like that's near impossible to pull off. Even if you're like Dragon Ball, it's still like, it's not really an end.
Because Dragon Ball Z,
because it just feels like another arc, but it's still a satisfying conclusion.
Oh yeah, man, they did a good job. Like, they did such a huge character, because like, remember, there's that one part where he's on his final lock level and he's actually Dracula, right? And then like he says whatever her name is, the police girl, he says her full name instead of saying police
Victoria.
girl. Yeah, Saris. And like, it was like all of Derek, Dylan, and Emmy like let out the biggest aww, like right when he said it, and I was like, yes, that's real character development.
It's a payoff.
That's amazing.
Throughout the whole show.
Yes.
And it's a payoff because they turned him into an asshole.
Exactly.
I remember watching like Hellsing Ultimate abridged for the first time and getting that urge to go back and watch the original, because I was like, okay, that was really fun and really funny. None of that made any goddamn sense. I wonder if the original makes any more sense. We'll go watch the original. I'm like, nope, sure doesn't.
I was gonna say, I haven't seen the
vampires,
original, but...
World War III, Nazis. It's a whole fucking werewolf. There's a Nazi fucking werewolf Nazi. In the show.
I heard the backstreet
called it. Dude, this show is so good. Yeah, I regret in the last podcast not saying that Hellsing Ultimate was my favorite. I totally forgot about it.
Well, you see, that's why I let you guys all go first and name like the most popular ones, so that I could do Hellsing at the end.
Dude, Hellsing is like the most popular. It's the most underrated popular abridged, because it's super popular.
But it's not
releasing
releasing
you only
now,
know
so.
about it. Yeah. Well, you only know about it if you've been watching Abridged. Like, you never hear like, oh, have you watched Hellsing Ultimate Abridged? No. You hear SAO Abridged, and then you go, hey, you've been here for a while. You want to watch something? You want to watch something real good?
Well, it's so funny
That's
because
Hellsing
like
Ultimate.
Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, I feel like at this point, Hellsing Ultimate Abridged to me is like even more famous than actual Hellsing, because if you go on YouTube and you search like any of like the Hellsing soundtrack, all of the top, like especially for something like Alucard's theme, all of the top comments are like quoting Hellsing Ultimate Abridged
In the chat.
So yeah, I feel like Hellsing Ultimate Abridged is like almost kind of overshadowed the original now. I think possibly due in part to like the fact that like Hellsing Ultimate has been done for so long, but like Hellsing Ultimate Abridged only recently wrapped up.
Yeah, it was 2018, I think, was when the last the 10 episode 10 came out.
Mm-hmm.
That series has been going on for a while, bro.
Yeah.
That's a long one. Yeah, and they only, it was like every Halloween they'd release one episode.
Yeah, it was like once a year.
Yeah, they really blue balled the audience on that one, bro.
You could hear the
There's a couple
improvement.
episodes where they leave it. Leave it on a cliffhanger, man.
It's true.
Like, they leave it on a huge cliffhanger, like 2 or 3 of the episodes, and you're like, I have to wait a whole fucking year for the next one? Are you kidding me? Like, are you fucked? Are you serious right now? Like, dude. Oh, so good.
God, yeah. You can hear when Alucard gets a better mic.
You can hear when all of them get a better mic.
Yeah.
What's her name? The girl who plays the headmaster. of
Oh,
Hellsing.
Megami 33. Yeah.
Yeah, when she got a better microphone, it was the first episode.
Yeah.
Shit microphone.
Shit
for, like,
microphone, and then
half
the second
cast,
episode,
shit
it's like,
microphone.
oh, that's so much better.
Second episode,
Yeah.
everyone had at least an AT2020. Like, everyone was killing it with microphones.
Yeah. I mean, and by the end, like, practically nobody was recording from home anymore. Like, they were going to Sound Cadence Studios in Texas to like record all their stuff, like for DBZ and Hellsing. I don't know, like, I think maybe some of their remote people were still like.
So Sound Cadence Studios. What is Sound Cadence Studios? Is that like a place that TFS owns? Or
No,
something,
Sound
or?
Cadence is it's a small dubbing company in Texas. And they were responsible for the Hells dub. Like, they were the ones, I think, that did all the licensing and stuff for that, and they were the people in charge of that project, like the ADR directors and whatnot. But they brought
Is that the one that TFS?
Yeah, they brought
dubbed,
on
right?
TFS to help out because they felt like their writing style really fit
Was perfect
Hells.
for it. Yeah.
And so they were heavily involved in that, but like. Yeah, I feel like there's a misconception that a lot of people were like, oh, TFS did like an official dub, and it's like, that's technically true, but they were like partners on an official dub project.
Yeah, they were partnered in it.
Yeah,
I
they
remember
weren't
it was a
like, it
huge
wasn't
thing
like
when
they like
announced.
went and licensed it and like set everything up themselves.
No. They were partnered
Yeah.
in directing and not. I wouldn't say it was producing, was probably half on half, right? But like,
I don't
were
even
in
know
charge
if they
of,
were
like,
involved in producing. I think that was purely Sound Cadence. Like, Sound Cadence just brought them in. I think, I don't know how much they were involved in directing. I know that they were definitely involved in acting.
It was.
I think they were mainly involved in the script.
Hell's. No, the voice acting was them.
Well, I mean,
that was
a
something
lot
that
of it was them. I
remember.
don't think it was all TFS members.
But it was produced. It was a collaborated. Sound Cadence Studio collaborated with Discotech to produce the English version of the show. And yeah, you got a lot of the TFS members. Yeah, production assistants, TFS Entertainment
of internet personalities
So-
on there. So you had
so for the
Lee,
production-
you had you've got little KRWBY in there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's
Yep.
it's a stellar cast. You know.
Yeah, stellar, absolutely amazing cast. But they were the production assistants for the show.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were in there with for a lot of the producing stuff.
Production
which is nice.
assistant though, that's one of those. It's a bit like executive producer. You know, it's just one of those titles that gets thrown about a bit. You know, like
Yeah.
we
Hey,
had a
guys,
guy
I'm
who
executive
just made the
producer.
cups of tea and like on a production once, and you know, he made a fucking good cup of tea. So it's like, how would you like to go down as an executive producer?
You provided us with good tea. Thank you. You're wonderful.
So, but yeah, Sound Cadence primarily does like anime dubs. I think they do. My understanding is they do a lot of like collaboration with Funimation. They're one of like Funimation's like a kind of sister studios. If like for actors that are like more local to the Sound Cadence area, if they can't come up to the main Funimation offices, they'll like do it remotely from Sound Cadence. They've also they've also done a bunch of recording for RWBY at Sound Cadence. So yeah.
This gives me a good question to ask you, since like you're involved with a lot of people who, and this is really good for the people who are listening. This is something that I feel like is something you should be able to at least give some advice on.
Perhaps.
But a lot of people, especially me, I remember when I first started voice acting in 2015. My whole family was behind it because I got a lot of productions under my belt as far as theatrics go. So when I got on and like I started doing stuff with like American Idol and The Voice and everything, and like started working in like studios, I really got on to like, and I fell in love with anime, and I was like, I really want to be an anime voice actor. And my stuff, a lot of my stuff was like my uncle would be my manager most of the time. So like what's your best advice for someone who works and gets to work in that industry so much? Voice acting, voice directing, and sound production, all that stuff. What's the best advice you can give to someone who's starting out on how to like get into that world? Where do I go? Like how do I audition? What websites do I look at? Like, all that stuff. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you're talking as if I've made it, and I certainly don't feel as if I've made it. But
like you're definitely the closest one to ask. Like every time I ask you these kinds of questions, you are so knowledgeable. So I feel like you'd be really good to ask.
I mean, the industry is all about who you know. I mean, first and foremost, be good at what you do. Like nobody's gonna hire you if you're obviously shit. But
oh, man.
You don't need to be
Fuffy.
Like you don't need to be I think a lot of people, however, come under the misconception that like they have to be the absolute best. And that's not true. You need to be good at what you do, for sure. You need to be able to perform well. You need to be able to do the job and do it well, but you don't necessarily need to be the best at the job. You just want to be very friendly, and you want to be easy to work with. If people like working with you, people will keep coming back, and keep bringing you on more and more stuff. And the more stuff you do, the more word gets around about you, the more you get involved with other things. And honestly, like, for me, like, I'm a major introvert, so it can be kind of difficult, but because this industry is so much of who you know, just being sociable and talking with people and just kind of getting to know people, and most importantly, getting to know people without necessarily having an agenda. Like, even if what spurs you into a conversation with somebody is like, oh, this person is doing this really cool thing and it'd be really cool to work with them. If that's what gets you to, like, go up and talk to them, cool. But once you get into that conversation with them, that conversation should not be about fishing for a job or fishing for opportunities. Your goal is to just make a friend, right?
Yeah.
Because people, especially people in like higher positions of power who have like done a lot of stuff, they can sense when you're fishing, when like all you're doing is looking for like an opportunity, looking for a job. Like they can sense when, you're trying to use them versus like you're being genuine. You actually like want to get to know them and care about what they do. So, like being genuine and just like getting involved in projects and being good to work with is and easy to work with is the most important thing. And I'd say like the best place to start with that is, if you're just getting into voiceover, Casting Call Club is a great place to get started. You'll meet a lot of people, and and the abridged community in particular is surprisingly well connected.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like,
oh yeah.
you know, I've gotten to meet so many people just simply through my connections with KRWBY. Like, I've gotten to meet other like major abridgers. I've also gotten to meet some other really cool people in the industry, specifically because with KRWBY, what we do is RWBY abridged. I've gotten to meet several people at Rooster Teeth. And like, yeah, and get to chat with them. Like, there are other people on the KRWBY team that are really have a very good relationship with a lot of people at RT. And that's kind of, honestly, that's kind of a rare thing in the abridged world, to have like a good relationship with like the parent company.
Yeah, right.
When the content's coming from Japan.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you go to cons, you meet people, you go online, you do projects, you collaborate with other people. So yeah, like if you don't have any of those connections yet, get started just by like auditioning for a shit ton of stuff on Casting Call, meet people, and like if you're just active and you're proactive about like going and hanging out with people and like being social, like you'll meet more and more people.
Absolutely.
There is
Dude, that's great.
with Casting Call Club in particular. You know, I feel it's all well and good, you know, getting involved and stuff, but is it good to at least set yourself standards when it comes to projects?
I feel like you're specifically calling me out right now.
Yes, yes, I am.
yes, we are.
Okay, but like they're so bad that they're funny projects. You know, it's a
Bro.
golden common.
Well, see, because the thing is, Fuffy, with that whole issue is that, like, for instance, let's say Sean was going through audition tapes and like he was like, oh, let me see what this person, and he looks at your shit.
Oh,
right?
I delete all the ones that I don't
And
get casted for.
Okay, and he sees this absolute floodgate of like 100 different projects that none of them have gotten off the ground. I would go, I don't know. This one looks a little risky. You got a lot of fucking auditions under your belt, bro.
Well, I mean, it's good to have a lot of auditions, but I do agree that if someone were to look at my casting call, like on the day that at 2 a.m. I decided, fuck it, I'm auditioning for these ones now. This one about like the vampires that eat humans' hearts, and like after some like ancient war and all this other stupid shit that's like probably being written by a middle schooler, sounds hilarious. I want to get in on that.
I want to get on that. Let's do it, dude. bro, it's ridiculous. You know, this dude, Casting Call Club, I remember it being such a much more like, oh yeah, I'm on Casting Call Club. But now it's just like this cringy mess of like 11 to 13 year olds doing gotcha projects every other, like all the projects that I see on Casting Club. Yeah, Minecraft, they never get through, man. And it's just like Casting Call Club is just littered with like broken, unfinished projects that just are embarrassing. There's that one, what's that one website? What's the one website that's similar to Casting Call Club, but it's for like actual shows and movies and animated, like real animated projects?
Voices 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, Voices 1, 2, 3 or something like that.
No, I'm on that. I get emails from them every once in a while, but they actually, like, Hollywood uses it for getting like smaller roles and stuff.
Backstage?
Backstage,
oh,
yeah, Backstage. Yeah, Backstage is, listen, you have to pay for Backstage, guys. But if you do, and it's not always guaranteed that you'll get a job, but you will get professional like opportunities to actually audition for like real shows and movies and small studio projects and commercials. The Backstage is the professional version of Casting Call Club, and it is so much better than Casting Call Club. I get emails from them all the time over like model. They categorize in film, TV, theater, modeling, voiceover, and commercials, and they're awesome. So if you guys are, that's another place.
But you need to be careful about that. Like, you don't, especially with like those paid sites, you really need to be realistic about what your skill level is.
That's another thing
that's
you
why
have
I
to do
say
really
like
well.
if you're just getting started, like be on casting call rather than one of those paid sites.
Yes.
Because not only are you gonna be not only you're not gonna be wasting money, but if you're on one of those paid sites and you're auditioning for stuff and you're very clearly like below par for the professionals that are on that site, like it's not a good look. So just like, you know, if you move to one of those sites, bear in mind that like, you know, it is for professionals and you need to be operating it at that level.
Yes.
You might as well have
you'll
fun
get a lot
with
of
your young and fresh voice. You might as well be doing some like anime shit posts with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much, because you'll grow, you know, you'll get bigger.
Speaking
But
of
it's
anime
really
shit
important.
posts, check out the FanBase TikTok. Link in the description.
Oh yeah, check out the FanBase TikTok if you want to see some real good shit
this was
posts.
brought to you by-
I'm the one who does that. Brought to you by
By
what?
the FanBase TikTok.
Brought to you by what, Fuffy?
Brought to you by the FanBase TikTok.
Brought to you by what?
Your number
Oh,
one
yeah,
place
brought to you
for
by the
like,
FanBase
I don't
TikTok.
know, Mason's weird
Anime
like
content.
random ideas and manga
it's
screenshots
just
that I
anime
find on
content.
Reddit being
Yeah,
dubbed.
Dude, they're so funny. They're so good. So this the abridging topic it brings me to a really good one that I told you about before we started recording. You told me you had a really solid opinion on this one. I'm sure you know what I'm about to say. What is your opinion? Because last month, our favorite pirating website,
Favorite's a strong
Kiss
word.
Anime, got taken
The most
down.
popular.
Favorite's a strong word. But if I could never find something on Crunchyroll, Verve, or you know any of the other several streaming websites, for instance, a good one is Kiss X's, which is my favorite anime. If I can never find it, I know Kiss Anime has it. All right. What's your opinion on that? Is piracy a good thing or like more of a bad thing, or is it like a gray area? How do you feel about it?
Well, let me start out by saying good fucking riddance to Kiss Anime.
Heyo. Goodbye, Bitcoin miners.
Like,
Goodbye.
the topic of piracy is hotly debated. And, you know, in reality, I think that there is a bit of a gray area. Because I think that anime, I mean, you know, if anybody out there watches like the Trash Taste podcast, I think they had, like the guys on there had some really good things to say about
they had
it.
a segment about this as well.
And, you know, I think that they're right in that piracy definitely played a big part in the rise of anime in the West. You know, back before like we had a bunch of legal streaming services and whatnot. So in that regard, I think that, you know, there's some merit to it. But now that anime has become so much more widely recognized, I really feel like there's less and less of a need for piracy. I mean, every now and again, there is a show that you just can't find anywhere legally. But that's becoming a rarer and rarer instance. So I guess my opinion on piracy is that I don't approve of it. I personally pay for like a bunch of different streaming services. That way, like, I basically have access to whatever anime I want to watch.
You're also supporting,
and supporting.
Studio.
And that's another thing that people go off and they're like, oh, it's not really supporting because like none of that money goes back.
I guess it does.
Yeah, it does. Like it might not be like you specifically watching the episode might not like send any money back to the original creators, but you're paying for your monthly subscription to Crunchyroll absolutely does, because Crunchyroll uses that money to license the anime. And I don't think people realize how large some of these licensing fees are.
Yeah.
Like some of these licensing fees can pay for an entire production of a show.
Dude, I remember when Crunchyroll first came out in like 2010. I remember I purchased a Crunchyroll account in 2012. They didn't even have the original Naruto on there yet. They had Shippuden. They didn't even have Naruto on the platform yet when Crunchyroll first came out. Like, that's how expensive some of these things are, bro. And the only reason why I know so much about them is because of the music stuff. Spotify works the same way. So for some of the viewers, if you want to know how this works, here's the education around it, basically pretty simplified. The way that Spotify works and also the way that Crunchyroll works is this. So, for instance, let's say my music. I think in total I've gained like about 20,000 streams overall.
It's not worth
right?
listening to, honestly.
And that, yeah, right. And that amounts to like a couple like $100. It's like $400, I think, in like streaming money or something like that. And so basically the way it works is every month Spotify they have like a chart of everything that's been streamed, everything. And every month they look at how many people are paying for Spotify, right? So you got your how much is Spotify? Like $8.99 or something?
Something like that.
I don't know.
Crunchyroll's the same way. So Crunchyroll's like what, $8.99?
It's like $7.99
right?
or something like that.
$7.99, yeah. So Crunchyroll will look at $7.99. They'll look at all of their users. They have like 4 million users on this thing. That's a lot of cash, right? Every month they look at this and they go, all right, here's all the royalties we have to pay.
Well,
and they go, all right,
the-
how much has each of these royalties? They'll look at like One Piece, for instance, and they'll go, okay, One Piece got 1 million streams this month, so we need to send out this amount of money to One Piece along with like the royalty.
Not for
At least that's how it works on
licensing,
Spotify.
'cause, yeah, Spotify is based on like the amount of streams that something gets.
Yeah,
But
and they
for
split up
anime
the money at the end of the month amongst
Crunchyroll
everyone
pays for the said license
who-
and owns that.
Yeah,
And now
I
they can
don't-
distribute
Yeah, exactly.
the show itself. They don't have to pay
I don't
anything.
know how many royalties companies like Crunchyroll and Funimation pay. My understanding is that royalties aren't really a part of the game. You pay for an
No.
outright licensing fee, and then you just have the license for a certain period of time. But
Well,
it's
that
a
was the
huge
case.
fee.
No, it is, but there's actually not. No, there's not. Maybe some, but there was one show which, remember, I told you about Love Stage.
Mm-hmm.
That one with the actors. Remember, I told you about that one. That one's not on Crunchyroll anymore. It was on Crunchyroll up until literally like 5 months ago. It got taken off of Crunchyroll, and it's only available on. It was on Crunchyroll, Verve, and Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, sorry, I think it was Funimation. It was Hulu or Funimation. It was available on pretty much all of the platforms, and out of nowhere, it disappeared on all of them except for Verve, which is a subsidiary of Crunchyroll. But that's besides the point. Is that it's not on Crunchyroll anymore.
These
And I
licensing
think it was
fees
because
get really complicated.
yeah, they get really expensive, and I think it was because, and again, it's not like a huge show by any means. It's literally 12 episodes. It's one season. It's really small, but I think it was just Crunchyroll just didn't want to pay because not a lot of people were watching it, and they were just like, okay, we don't really need to be wasting money on a show that ended like 5 years ago. No one's watching it. I don't know what the story is, but I read that they stopped paying. They didn't want to pay for another licensing.
Well,
for
right,
like
but that's
years.
not. That's generally not going to be a royalty thing. You're talking about re-upping a license because when you license,
that's the licensing.
yeah,
at
when
this
you
point.
license a show, most of the time you're licensing it for a set period of time. Like you're licensing it for a year
Yes.
or several years or something. And so if
Yeah.
a bunch of people aren't watching a show, then it's like, okay, well, why are we going to shell out the money to re-up this license when we're not making our money back
Exactly.
on this
Yeah,
show?
Going back to the piracy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay more than I should do, really, for streaming services. Like I've got the
Same.
big three, if you will. I've got Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, and then well, for us it's the big three. It's Crunchyroll. But then I also pay for High Dive, which is Sentai Filmworks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a new one.
Sentai
Yeah.
Filmworks' service, and then what's the other one? I used to pay for Funimation now, but then I stopped because their website keeps crashing.
Dude, I'm pissed off at
They,
Funimation for a little bit.
Here's
a
the
little bit of
problem,
shit
though.
they've
Like
pulled.
I have a plethora of legitimate sources to, find what I'm looking for. Yet still, due to region licensing laws, because I'm classed as EU at the minute, but Brexit anyway. For example, I'll use the King's Game dub, Usama Game dub. It's on Funimation now in the States, However, I can't access it because of my of location of my IP.
Sounds like
You know,
you
you
need
need that VPN, dog.
NordVPN. No.
VPN,
Yes, but
sponsor of this
sure.
podcast.
Yes, but it's just like, it's sort of, they make you're trying your best to, to support the official release, but then they just gatekeep it, like how are you supposed to obtain it?
Yeah.
Without going and like trying to buy some obscure Blu-ray somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's not so much like that they're deliberately gatekeeping. This stuff gets so complicated,
Bureaucracy.
especially when you're talking about like different regions and stuff. But I mean, it still absolutely blows. You're right. Like not being able to like watch something just because it's not available in your region. Like we're, I think, very privileged being in the U.S. and that we have access to most of the stuff.
Pretty much everything. Yeah. They don't really gatekeep.
I mean,
us here
we're
in
not.
The US. We're pretty open.
I mean,
except for interspecies.
we're not allowed
reviews.
to watch the Russian dubs on Crunchyroll, but
Oh no, some of them have Russian dubs. No. What's it? Don Manchu, you're not allowed to. How not to pick up girls in a dungeon. You can watch the Russian dub. On
can you
Crunchyroll
really?
here.
By the way, I've found some of those.
Can.
Like I've like unlocked some of those Russian dubs. My God, they're bad.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah, but Colours, isn't your IP set to Vladivostok?
No, I don't have. Is my IP set to I don't have it on. It's not on. I'm sitting here like, is it fucking?
Like most of those Russian dubs, they don't even have like an M&E mix, so they just like turn down the original audio, and you can hear the Japanese audio in the background. They've just like done like it's like terrible audio quality, and they've just like recorded the Russian voices
two
over
friends
it.
in a room just like doing impressions.
Pretty much.
Oh my god.
Pretty much.
It's so freaking bad, dude. Dude, it gets ridiculous, man. But like, yeah, dude, I'm personally upset with fucking all of the nonsense. I'm upset with how many streaming services we have now. Like I understand, like I'm pissed off at Funimation, but I understand why, Like I understand that Funimation is pretty much the top dog when it comes to licensing and getting anime in the US for everybody, and it's dubbed, right? Like Funimation is pretty much responsible for a good like 80% of a lot of the anime that comes into the US. And I understand why they would want their dubs and their projects on their own streaming platform. But man, does it really piss me off that I used to have a lot of dubs on Crunchyroll, and then one day I woke up and they were just gone, and now I need to pay another $5 or $10,
the idea of
between $5 and $10 for
licenses, and you can just
Yeah.
doom the show to like Netflix purgatory.
Because here's the thing, right? Like you say that Funimation is responsible for most of that stuff. I don't think that's true. I think that at this point it's Crunchyroll. You hear so many people online being like, "Oh, Crunchyroll."
Well, I'm talking about English dubs.
Right.
English
I
dubs.
mean,
English
Crunchyroll
dubs.
is getting into the English dub market as well. But like, you hear so many people online being like, "Oh, Crunchyroll is dying. Crunchyroll is dying." I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
The fuck no, it's
not
It's
even
bigger,
close.
It's bigger than ever, dude. Fuck, dude. Like they don't even understand. I don't think they understand that Crunchyroll owns like half the other streaming services that they use.
Might be operating at a loss, but even then, like the venture capital money, they gotta be pulling in.
Yeah.
Dude. Well, that's also why they bought those Webtoon, and they make their own animations
like
now.
People were saying that like in the years that like Crunchyroll was like doing the Crunchyroll Awards and like doing like the Crunchyroll Expo, and I was like, guys, like these are not the moves that a dying company makes. These are like massively expensive moves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what the heck? Do you know how expensive it is to host a Crunchyroll, like an award, just like best anime, like
next they're gonna be
through
buying
these
all their
thousands of
employees Herman
animes.
Miller chairs.
Like,
yeah, dude, they get like real voice actors and VAs, and they fly them out. Like they pay for these VAs to fly out to these events or like to come to the shows. Like it's expensive, man. They pay for all the hotels and everything.
yeah,
like,
and I mean, and putting on
dude,
like
come on.
a a convention is just, it's massively expensive.
Yeah, that's not expensive. That's not cheap either. I've been a part of convention teams and stuff before because of the other communities that I've been a part of that I'm no longer a part of. So like I know how expensive it can get.
Yeah, it's very, very expensive. But regardless, the reason why all of those dubs disappeared off Crunchyroll was because Crunchyroll and Funimation had a partnership a few years back where they were basically kind of like sharing the licenses of most of their stuff, and so all the Funimation dubs were on Crunchyroll as well.
Yeah, Crunchyroll.
But here's the problem with that is that I did like a couple years ago I looked up like what the ratio was of like anime fans in terms of like how many people were watching subbed and how many people were watching dubbed, and a vast majority of anime fans prefer watching subbed, which gave Crunchyroll a massive advantage in that partnership deal with Funimation. Because Crunchyroll, I think, generally licenses more shows usually than Funimation.
No, they do. Yeah.
But Crunchyroll licenses everything that they can get their hands on.
Funimation, Funimation generally licenses less shows, but dubs most of the things that they license.
No, yeah, that's what I was always saying. Yeah, Funimation, their streaming service is for the shows that like, you won't find. It is very rare for you to find a dub of a show. There's a couple that are probably not Funimation works on Crunchyroll. But if Funimation has dubbed a show, it is going to be on no other platform than Funimation at this point. Netflix? Unless like Netflix paid some crazy amount. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's like we're talking about
Amazon
Netflix.
Prime. Actually, no, Amazon Prime, they have a deal with Crunchyroll where they have a deal with
Funimation.
Amazon
Prime's a little bit different because you can, with Amazon Prime, you purchase.
Where Funimation.
Fuck you, bitch.
Amazon Prime have that thing where you can just add the channels in and then you're paying. Like, but here's the problem with that though, is that you can't just use your previous Funimation login. You actually have to buy it as a bolt-on, but then you don't get all the stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was that just for you, like in your EU shit?
No, that's just
that's
how Amazon works. When you buy a bolt-on, you
Oh.
have to. It gets added to your Amazon bill. Even though you may be paying already for Funimation.
Yeah, you just get a cheaper price. Yeah, you get it.
You don't get it cheaper. It's still the same fucking price.
What, for Prime Video or just your? I'm talking like.
No. Okay. So
I understand.
You're paying already for Funimation now, and let's say that you just wanted to just watch it all on Amazon Prime. You can't just use your login details, and you have to cancel one and then bolt it onto the other.
Yeah.
If I feel like convenience is one of the biggest problems and one of the biggest arguments, or at least one of the biggest strengths that a lot of people say piracy has. Because I've seen
both.
Fucking piracy websites with better UIs than Crunchyroll.
Oof.
Yeah,
and
I'm still
it's just
so mad at
disappointing
Crunchyroll.
that I see the fucking Crunchyroll award show and they still haven't fixed their video player.
Well, I mean, okay, in fairness, they have fixed their video player.
Yeah, they have now. Things are improving.
But the thing that I'm mad at Crunchyroll about is the fact that they removed the sortable queue. That was by far my favorite feature on Crunchyroll that just trumped literally every other streaming service I've ever used.
My friend.
What was the sortable queue? What was that?
You could add things into your queue, and rather than like a Netflix queue where like Netflix has my list, you just add stuff in, and then just it's all in a horizontal line, and whatever the most recent thing you watched is the furthest to the left, right? But in Crunchyroll, it's vertical, and you can organize it however you want. You can put things in whatever order you want.
Oh, and episodes and stuff of different.
Yeah, different shows you're watching. And so it was wonderful because basically I could organize my queue in a way so that I would have all of my seasonal anime in order of when they came out in the week. And just so I could be okay, today's Wednesday, so I'm going to watch this show. Right, and then below all of my seasonal anime, I had my catch-up anime from previous seasons that I wanted to check out. So it was a really it was a very organized way to like keep track of all the anime that I was watching, and it was wonderful. But now they've reverted to this system where it's like it's by whatever it's like Netflix, where like whatever the most recent thing is on the top. And so there's no like rhyme or reason to the organization anymore. You can't change it. They say that like this is a temporary change, but it's been a temporary change for like a year. And I'm just like, give me my queue back.
Oh,
Give me my queue back, you
This
jerks.
is the biggest travesty to hit Crunchyroll. And
Like,
it is,
honestly,
and I've talked about this before. The removal of the random button.
I still have the random button.
How do you still have the random button?
You're in the. I think it's because you're in the EU. It's up there. I'm literally looking at it right now. Random button has a dice and everything. I use it all the time.
What the fuck?
I don't know what you're talking about, Sean. I have the random button.
Okay, I am.
Jesus Christ.
This is bullshit.
I'm good.
This is bullshit.
It's your fault. I'm sorry.
They bought it back.
The US.
They bought it back.
Yeah, it's never left.
It did
never
fucking
left
leave because
Never
I
once.
fucking complained about it.
Never once. Listen, I use Crunchyroll all the time. It is
It
never
has.
left.
Oh, don't look. When it comes to me trusting things which have happened, I trust my opinion over yours.
Listen, I know, but we're in two different countries, and the freaking EU is the most stupid. They banned memes in your shit, bro. Come on.
Actually,
Like,
you're
I don't
you're
want to
wrong.
hear it coming
You're
from
wrong.
you.
Again. I mean, Niptoon's had to correct you 3 times tonight. I'm having to correct you again. Honestly, we're fact-checking you more than Donald Trump at this stage.
Bro, what? Fake news, bro. What are you talking about?
Okay, right. Okay, well, that's completely ruined this part of the rant I was going to have. But still, let's pretend that they still had gotten rid of the random button.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's say they
let's
didn't
pretend that this
bring
is
it back.
2 weeks ago, or a week ago, when the random button wasn't there. Okay? Crunchyroll getting rid of the random button is just fucking stupid.
Oh yeah, that would be a pain in the ass.
Because I have discovered so many of my favorite shows through the clicking of that button. Like, things like Domestic Girlfriend, King's Game, you know, stuff that you would never think to watch, just appearing, and then you're like, well, now I'm in for the long run.
Oh my god.
You know, it's like when I struggle to like think of like what anime to watch next. I just go, Crunchyroll, choose for me. Sometimes it comes up with these. Sometimes it will just come up with like episode 164 of Naruto Shippuden. I'll just next it. But sometimes it'll come up with a gen like Nezuto Trap Romance, or Teacher, what are you doing? You know, things like that.
Oh my gosh.
So, it's a good job that they bought back the Crunchyroll random button.
Why the hell are you here, teacher? Is that the one
That's
you're talking
the one
about?
I'm talking about, yes.
Fuck it. I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm
For
gonna add
science
it to
reasons,
my queue.
yes.
Yeah, for science reasons, of course.
But
Not because the thumbnail or anything, and they have big opie, you
It's
know.
okay, we know you watch
It's
High
not
School
the
DxD just for the plot.
For the plot, exactly. Well, listen. Genuinely speaking, it actually is a really interesting story. Like, let's not shit on it just because it's edgy, all right? It has some pretty sick ass, like, you know what I mean? It's pretty dope, man. Like, don't hate on it too much.
I mean, I can't say anything?
Oh, why can't you say anything?
Do you want me to say my example, like, for the 20th time that I watched all of Interspecies Reviewers for the memes?
Oh yeah, he has nothing to say. So
Interspecies Reviewers
listen.
is one that you can't find anywhere because Funimation,
That's
fun fact,
true, that's
got the
true.
license for it. Dubbed the first 2 episodes. We're probably like in the process of doing episode 3. They're like, ooh, new episode come out. All right, voice actors, get in the booth. Okay, well, you know what? You guys can go home today. We're not dubbing actual hentai. And then they took it down from their site, and you can't find it anywhere else because they're the ones who own the license.
yeah, I mean, I've heard that
Dude,
they're
that
like the right stuff or something is like the anime like merch site is like getting something together to like buy up like the home release rights or something so that you could at least do that. But yeah,
Amazing.
I guess to bring it back though to like the topic
Yeah,
of
it's
piracy, right? I think that there are places in which piracy still has a place within reason.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Even if you're pirating something because you can't find it elsewhere, it's still piracy, and in my opinion, piracy is still wrong. It's still harming the original creators, and being somebody who is involved in production, and you guys working in a bridge series, you also understand how hard it is to work on some of this stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a shit
Well,
ton
not
of
with
work.
Crunchyroll. Tower of God is dope. Tower of God is great with Crunchyroll. They're not. Crunchyroll, because remember, Crunchyroll has sponsored a ton of the abridged community.
So like,
so they let us do what we want.
Yeah, but in that regard, like, even if you can't find it, it's still not a great thing to do. So I guess, I mean, because, like, I won't lie, like, when I got started, like, I was pirating a lot too, like, that
was the only thing I thought of doing,
like, that's a lot of the, I guess, like, getting into the anime experience is honestly, like, a lot of piracy.
Yeah.
But the thing is now, I guess, if you're going to pirate, I won't necessarily, like, judge people who do that on a regular basis. 'Cause, like, to a certain extent, I get it. But what I have a really hard time forgiving is people who make excuses for it and be like, oh, no, like, I should be allowed to do this, like, I'm not harming anything, like, those kinds of opinions, the people who just make up any possible excuse to try to justify their behavior. And it's like, no, dude, what you're doing is a shitty thing to do. Like, if you want to do that shitty thing, that's fine, I'm not gonna hate you for it, but don't make excuses for why it's not a shitty thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I get it. Well, because like for instance, with Love Stage, that was an anime that I watched on Crunchyroll the very first time I watched it, because it was on Crunchyroll. They got the rights to it right when the show came out. And like I wanted to show it to Emmy, my girlfriend, but I couldn't because it wasn't on Crunchyroll and it was on Verve, and I'm not gonna. And I couldn't even find it properly, like, on Verve. I couldn't find any link for it. So I was just like, screw this. And I just went to GoGo Anime, which is the place that I use. If I can never find, like, I only use pirating, or, like, not even pirate, because I feel like the coin, when I think of pirating, I think of, like, Bitcoin, or bit mining, or not bit mining, of, like torrenting. Yeah, I always think of torrenting. When I hear the word pirating, I think of Pirate Bay or torrenting something. So going to a website that's very public and, like, watching something, it is pirating, but like I always think of pirating as like really having to go out of your way with, but like with the issue of like Kiss Anime, it's like they had their own clothing line, they had a merch store, like it's, I don't look at it as like I'm doing something illegal and I can get arrested for this. It's like, no, this is just a site that streams anime and it's their fault. It has nothing to do with me. You know?
I mean, like,
but like,
when it's so easily accessible,
it can feel like
it's
that,
it can feel like that.
Yeah, it really doesn't feel like I'm doing anything wrong.
And in reality, like, the likelihood that you personally are going to get arrested for it is like, what?
Yeah, even arrested, more
or like fined or
basically.
anything like that. It's like, no, it's the people who are actively putting it up and making it available that it's going to come, the hammer is going to come down on. But even so, when you're utilizing their stuff, I mean, like, God, do you remember the number of fucking ads on Kiss Anime?
Oh my God, you couldn't listen. I was on GoGo, and the reason why I never used Kiss Anime was because Kiss Anime was the big top contender for that shit, like the ads. So I found this place called GoGo Anime, and it's still up today. For research purposes, everybody, if you can never find something, I guarantee they probably have it there. If you can't find it on your proper streaming services,
I feel like,
but
as far as
like
these services, I'd say services as in streaming services go in
streaming
a
services.
comparison, a lot of people tout the convenience of piracy, and I wish everything was as good as Netflix. Because I remember...
Pretty much, dude. Netflix has really killed it.
The Trash Taste podcast. I forget if it was the episode that they were talking about piracy or a different episode. they went in and were talking about Netflix, and they're like, yeah, I just watched some like trashy ass show that I would never watch normally, but it was on Netflix. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just binge this. It's so easy.
Yeah,
and
it really
the
is.
viewing experience
But-
is so nice that I specifically try to watch anime on Netflix.
See,
Dude, the Netflix app, the app, I'm so sorry. The app is so amazing. Like on the phone, you can, dude, you don't understand. If you have a touchscreen phone, which if you don't in this day and age, where are you? But the Netflix app, at least on Android, right? You can slide from like horizontally slide from left to right, and you can adjust the volume. If you slide up and down, it doesn't change your phone's brightness. It changes the viewing window brightness. Like, it's so intuitive. It's so good, man. Like, Netflix
they've got a lot
just
of really
kills it.
good technology behind it. The thing is, like, I remember that that episode of the Trash Taste podcast, and I kind of couldn't have disagreed with them more on the Netflix part. And I think it's just, it has to do with like my personal viewing habits. I hate watching anime on Netflix. For one, their their subs, their translations are really hit or miss.
Oh, that's true.
And two, like, one of the things that has always annoyed, I mean, like, I always kind of feel like, I mean, they're getting more and more, like, they're getting more and more into, like, some more hardcore anime stuff, which is good, but for a really long time, Netflix has been kind of like the normie place to watch anime.
They have, like, Sword Art
like you got,
Online.
Yeah, like Sword Art Online,
Yeah,
like No Game No
Naruto,
Life, like all of that kind of stuff.
Attack on season 1.
Yeah.
Fucking
Tokyo
mid anime.
Ghoul.
Yeah. So like they would have that kind of stuff. Now they're getting like, you know, more into like more like seasonal kind of
Evangelion.
stuff. Yeah.
Bro, they have straight up hentai on
Like-
there. They have hentai on Netflix.
But yeah, like one of the things that's always bothered me about Netflix is like, and this is such like a weird gripe that everybody's gonna be like, Brian, come on. But like, I fucking hate the fact that you can't select your like your quality settings on it. Everything is auto on Netflix.
Oh.
And it drives me batshit crazy because like there'll be times where like the audio will drop in quality, and I'm an audio guy, and that fucking pisses me the hell off, you know. And it's just like, and most of the time,
Dude,
like
it
it'll,
happens.
because it wants to start the video immediately, it'll start it at a lower quality, and I'm just like, Netflix, just wait 2 fucking seconds so that I can watch the whole thing in HD.
Isn't
Well, Netflix is
isn't
like
that
the
their
biggest. Go ahead,
isn't
Sean.
that
sorry.
their like paywall though, isn't it? Because they
No.
No, I mean
No.
back because when you sign up for your account, you know, you have to like depending on
Mm-hmm.
when you like buy your plan, or if you're a
Yeah.
leech like most people are when it comes to Netflix. You know, they just there's that one person who pays for Netflix and they never watch anything,
Yeah.
and then 3 people just watch everything.
So I have the Netflix family plan.
No, I mean
And,
when you
like
when
the
you
big one.
pay for it, you pay for the amount of device.
Yeah,
you have.
yeah, that's what
And
I was
it will
gonna say.
and
So
it will say
there's a
Netflix,
single account?
UHD or HD.
Yeah. So there's SD, right, which is
Right.
standard definition. Nowadays, standard definition is 1080p. The reason why you can go higher, for instance, SD is just a single account. You get one account, right, and it's like $7 a month or whatever, unlimited streaming, you know, whatever. But like, I pay for the full house family plan just because I used to live in an apartment with a bunch of people and I took care of the Netflix. So you could have 5 people. So we had one Netflix account for each room. Living room, 2 other rooms, and we had a kitchen.
Living room,
one for, like, if we were
bathroom.
cooking.
Like-
We could watch. Yeah, we had a TV mounted above the fridge for when we were cooking. We could watch YouTube videos
Oh,
when
shit.
we were cooking. Yeah, because I was a savage. I put it up there. But like HD, because some of the Netflix content, Sean, is in 4K.
Yeah.
Like HD, like there's SD and HD. HD is for 4K. So if you have a 4K TV, you can stream it in 4K.
Yeah, but like
no,
there's still
HD
no
is not
like
4K.
there's still no settings
Netflix
to change
is so
it.
great at simplifying things, but they go
Yeah,
too
it
far.
does it
a lot.
automatically.
Yeah, like, and it's really annoying for me because it's like I know that when I watch something on Netflix, like it's gonna start out at like fucking 480p, and I'm just gonna have to like wait 10-15 seconds for it to figure out, oh, your internet is actually fast. Okay.
Hey, sometimes though, and you know, this is where YouTube comes into its own, really. Sometimes though, you just wanna go back to the Stone Age and watch something and watch one pixel, you know, change color.
Facts.
You know, you sometimes you just, you know, for a bit of humility, you just want to watch something in 144 and just go, kids these days, don't they have
It's
it
like
good?
when we're all
don't know
old
how
and
to
be like,
appreciate it.
you know, like talking to our grandkids, like back in my day, our videos were in 480p. You even know what 480 pixels looks like?
Back in my
Do
day,
you know what 1080p looks like,
Back
boy?
in my
Back on our
the,
CRT TVs, it looked amazing.
hey, it was in that 4:3 ratio. But then when you watch something in widescreen on the 4:3 TV, oh my god.
Dude, look,
Fluffy
look,
doesn't
look.
know what one of those is,
So,
though,
like,
does he?
At the end of the day, honestly, so I give my notes to Piracy just because although streaming services have made it so much easier to legally watch all of our favorite content, I'm really pissed off at a lot of the streaming services because at the same time, it's controlling a lot of the content that we get to watch, which is why I give my hand to Piracy. Like there's a lot of shows. For instance, Kiss Excess is a really good one. It's an ecchi, and it gets it can get pretty censor worthy a lot of the time, but it's a really good show in its story and like I actually, once the 2 seasons ended, I continued on. I love the story so much, I continued on to read the manga. Like I purchased like the manga and read it, and and I followed it weekly. So it just like the streaming services piss me off sometimes with one, how widespread and thinned out the industry is, because there's like 5 or 6 different streaming services for anime, when I would rather it just be Crunchyroll and maybe Funimation. But now you got Verve, High Dive, Funimation, Netflix, Crunchyroll. You got like there's what's it, Hulu. Like I'm like, dude, just give me one streaming service with all of the anime on it and get as much of the anime as you can. Like get as much of the anime that's out there onto the service so people can watch their favorite shows and obscure shows without having to go to a pirating website. Like I don't want to have to go to GoGo Anime to watch fucking Love Stage. All right, I would love to just go back to Crunchyroll, but no,
Is
fucking
the thing,
stupid.
it's on Crunchyroll, but like you can actually search it and it will come up with the thumbnails for the videos. But when you click on it, it's
it
like,
has the
oh,
stage.
I'm
No,
sorry,
there's no-
were you trying to watch Love Stage? Oh, we've never heard of Love
Yeah.
Stage.
Yeah, they have the page. The page is still there. You can still go to crunchyroll.com/lovestage and find it, but it's not fucking. You can't play any episodes. I'm like, why? It's such a
Well,
good
you know,
story.
this all comes down again to, you know, like the licenses and you know, like and the cost.
It's
and
just-
Dude, but that's the issue,
But,
because it's.
I mean,
so
it's gonna.
widespread,
I mean,
man. Like, there's so much
unfortunately, this is
deals.
gonna be a reality, like moving forward, and not just for anime, but for everything.
Yeah.
You know,
We're turning back to TV.
pretty
We're gonna
much.
pay for,
Yeah,
like, every
are
different
you
channel
are you
and-
paying for the 90 extra channels?
Like, it was cool when it was just Netflix, Crunchyroll, and I think Hulu was around when because Hulu's Netflix's like direct competitor. So like it was cool when it was like those 3 guys, and Netflix didn't really have any anime. Like Crunchyroll, like movies and TV shows were Hulu and Netflix's thing. Crunchyroll had anime, and then Netflix was like, we're gonna be fucking the Facebook of fucking the streaming world, and we're just gonna start doing fucking everything now. And then all these competitors popped up, and just like, oh man, it's, dude,
Yeah.
it sucks.
The
It
bottom
sucks, bro.
line for me when it comes to piracy is if you're gonna do it,
do what
that's
you
your prerogative. But
yeah, bro.
no matter what the situation is, whether it's available easily on a legal streaming service or not, like piracy hurts the industry, and that's not cool. And you know, if you're pirating, you're complicit in that. You know, if that's your prerogative, whatever, I'm not gonna judge you for it, but don't pretend like what you're doing is fine.
Yeah. So I guess to hop off the topic in a really uncliche way, and we'll move on to the next thing. This goes directly towards you, basically, because you produce. You know, you're an audio engineer. by trade. You know, you went to college for it and everything. What's it like? And this can go right to Delta. What's it like producing an anime episode? Like all the sound work and like, you know, like what goes into it, man? Like what equipment do you use?
Behind
all that
the
stuff.
scenes.
Yeah, behind the
juicy
scenes. This is for
beats.
fucking.
Well,
He
I mean,
wanted this
just
one.
to make it clear so there's no confusion
Yeah.
for the audience, I do not work on official anime dubs.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet.
I have done, you know, like fan dubs. You're specifically referring to, you know, you're referring to Macross Delta, which is probably the best thing I've ever done.
Bastard stole my segue. Sorry.
But in terms of what went into Delta and what went into producing a fan dub on that level, 'cause, I mean, I never like to make assumptions, but the goal with Delta was basically to say, okay, you can produce a professional level dub at a fan dub level. That was the goal. And I never like to make assumptions. So, I mean, for you, Mason, you know, you saw it. Do you feel like we succeeded?
Dude, I listen. So I'm gonna show you guys after this. Sean, if you want to stay up for like an extra 30 minutes, I'll play it for you guys. Dude, this little piece of like this little piece of artwork that Brian worked on is absolutely phenomenal. Like, the episode started, right? I've never seen this anime before, but it honestly felt like I was genuinely I had no idea. I completely forgot that I was watching something that he made. Like, that's how good it felt. Completely and utterly like a full-on professional production. Like, I was so impressed, and words could not, like, I was trying to text him last night. I couldn't even put it into words, just how impressed I was. And it definitely is probably one of the coolest things he's ever made. And it's such a shame you can't release it. Why can't you release it? What was the...
So the reason why we can't release it and make it public to everyone, you know, I mean, we did it as a portfolio piece, right? So there are excerpts from it, like in my demo reel that, you know,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
how
see.
I knew about it.
But yeah, like it's really just a portfolio piece to kind of like show what, you know, myself and the other people involved in the production are capable of doing. But the reason we can't show it is because, unlike abridged series where you can use the original like footage and stuff and claim fair use, you can't really claim fair use on a fan dub, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, because it is transformative, but it is absolutely a replacement for the original.
Yeah. You're
So that was kind of the deciding factor of like, yeah, we can't put this anywhere. Like, we have to.
Yeah, you couldn't even post on like Daily Motion or something.
I mean, like, the bottom line was we didn't want to break the law, right?
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
you know, because especially if you want to get into the anime industry, like, you know, being involved in fan dubs isn't always like looked upon very well. Because it's viewed as like being illegal, and so that was like one of the reasons why it was really important for us to, like, because that is an industry that we would like to get into at some point. We're like, you know, we want this to be a portfolio piece, but we can't be doing illegal things because that could really hinder our ability to get into the industry. So that was really the motivation to keep it like under lock and key, which sucks because I would love for a bunch of people to be able to see it, but you know, unfortunately, it's just not the case. So, in terms of what it takes to make something like Delta, I mean, it'd be easier to say what it doesn't take. I mean, it was an intense production. It starts with I guess I'll start by saying the most important thing that I think is so often overlooked in anime dubs. Whenever there's a bad whenever there's a bad anime dub, people love to blame two things. They blame the actors, and if they're perhaps a little more knowledgeable, then they blame the director.
Yeah.
Those are like the most common complaints that you hear for like bad dubs. People like, oh, the actors are really bad, or oh, the director just like did a really bad job. Casting is really important. Sometimes it's not the actor's fault. Sometimes they just aren't the right fit for a part, and it's totally the casting director's fault for casting this actor, and then this actor is stuck in a role that they're really not a good fit for, and the director is stuck directing an actor that really isn't a good fit for this role. So that can be an issue sometimes. But more often than not, the most common problem I have with most anime dubs, far and above, is the ADR script. And you very, very rarely hear people complaining about the scripts. If you have a bad script in a dub, it doesn't matter how good your casting is, how good your director is, how good any of that stuff is. If you have a bad script, you have a bad dub. So getting the script right is really, really important, and especially in today's world of simul-dubbing, a lot of the professionals are not given a lot of time to write these ADR scripts, and unfortunately that yields some pretty subpar scripts relatively often.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't think, for a lack of ability on a lot of these scriptwriters' parts. It's just they don't have the time. And so one of the benefits of doing a fan dub was that we had time to really go through and make sure that we were happy with the script. Annika had already done a version of this dub 2 years prior. Annika being the ADR director.
Yeah.
And it was a much more typical like fan dub quality, what she had done. And she was like, oh, I kind of want to redo it. And I was like, yeah, you know, if we put our back into it, we can probably make this pro level. So we got to work on it, and we went and revised a lot of her original script. And the script writing process is long. I mean,
Oh yeah, trust
like,
me, I'm aware.
It's a lot longer than I think most people. In order to make a good script, it's a lot longer than I think most people realize. Like, we're working on a new dub right now that's also going to be a portfolio piece, and I shit you not, we had one we had one writing night where we spent 2 hours on a single line. I mean, it's really, really intense because you have to match the lip flaps. You have to get all the information across, and then you need to do all that while actually writing a line that sounds like something a human being would say. And most of the time in dubs where you see people skimp is on the part where it's something that a human being would say.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very intense process to find something that kind of balances out all of those things. And sometimes you do have to, on certain lines, you do have to make compromises, and it sucks. But, you know, it is what it is. So scripts are a very, very underrated portion of the making a good dub process. And so we spent a lot of time on that. Once we had a script, I mean, you change the script on the fly, too. Like, you know, we'll think we'll have something good, and then we'll get the actor in the booth, and they'll be recording the line, and we'll realize, oh, this actually doesn't work. And so we have to change the line on the fly with the actor in the booth, and that's also very common.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Last question. Like, when it comes to scripting a dub, is it a case of you like visually interpreting like what's going on, or is it literally just taking the subtitles that have been obviously pre-translated and then adapting them to then fit the flaps?
I think in the fan dub world, it's very, very common to just adapt the subtitles because generally you don't have a translator on your team. However, we had the wonderful benefit in that Annika at the time was a Japanese major, and so she knew a lot of Japanese. She's not 100% fluent, but she knows a shit ton of Japanese. And it also very much helps that in the particular case of Macross Delta, she knew the official sub team. So she was able to go in and ask them questions.
Oh, how?
Yeah,
what?
Annika's an extrovert.
That's
She's a big Macross fan, and she knows a lot of people in that community. And so, she knew the official sub team, and so she was able to go in and like ask them questions like, why did you translate things this way?
Oh yeah, the guys who wrote the subs for
yeah.
the show. Oh, gotcha. Okay, I was like sub team as in like the guys who wrote the script. I was like, damn.
Yeah, so she knew the official sub team, and so having them as a resource was really helpful. But a lot of the time, my understanding now of like how professional dubs work, a lot of the time there's a translator that writes a literal translation, and then the script adapter comes in and uses the literal translation to write the script. And I can't speak to that process too much because I've never really used that process, but I can say having a knowledge of Japanese and having somebody with a really great knowledge of Japanese involved in the actual ADR script writing process is so massively helpful because it gives you so much more context. If you just read a literal translation, it makes so little sense, right? And being able to have discussions of like, oh, well, they used like this ending, or they used this particular word, and that has this kind of connotation that's just like, it's just more detail than you can generally put into a literal translation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Japanese is super contextual. It really is.
So, like, having the fact that she knew so much Japanese made the script writing process that much better. So basically, she would go in. We weren't basing it off the subs. She would go in and actually do a real translation of the Japanese, and then we'd go from there.
Yeah.
So that's the way that we did it. But yeah, I think for most fan dubs, they're not given the benefit of having somebody who knows Japanese. So you're just kind of recontextualizing the subs most of the time. But yeah, that wasn't what we did.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you guys straight up you went the full on good. Oh geez, you went the good route, bro.
Yeah.
You went the good route and like really took your time with it, which is impressive. Not a lot of people do that, which is awesome. You did this all for your portfolio work, sound design, right, and voice acting.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really so much for
overall?
voice acting portfolio. It was more for like sound work. But
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you've got the script writing process. The way we would do that, I guess, to be a little more specific about like how we would actually go about that, we use Avid Pro Tools, and we both have it. And so it made working really, really easy because we put together what's called a spotting session, where I basically make these clips and mark out where all the lines are going to go. I listen to the original Japanese. I decide how we're going to break up the lines, and that all gets put into an ADR script with time codes and everything.
Yeah.
I put markers on all of those clips within Pro Tools. That way I have just like keyboard shortcuts that I can be like loop 23, and I just like hit like 23 on my numpad, and then it immediately goes there. So in script writing, it makes it really, really easy to jump around to different lines really, really quickly. And so it's a lot of watching the screen and first doing the translation, and then being like coming up with an initial translation, and then like testing to see if that works with the lip flaps, and then refining from there until it does work from the lip flaps and you're happy with the wording. And now, I mean, we were kind of working very much in tandem back then. Now what we do is Annika goes and does the initial translation. She'll do the initial translation. She'll do the initial script write. Like she'll do a rough draft. And then I come in and we workshop it line by line together to really refine the wording and get it right. That's the way we do it now. But back then it was just like, we were working pretty much simultaneously.
Hell yeah, dude.
But yeah, so we do that, and then you have casting. And you guys have some experience in casting.
Yes, we do it a lot better now than we did before. Thanks to you guys. It's all thanks to like a lot of the people that we have in here are way more experienced in dubbing, abridging, and everything. Like you guys have given us so much advice. So
I appreciate it. But yeah, so casting for Delta was a time. It's probably the single most difficult casting thing I've ever done because our standards on Delta were so high. Like,
Oh yeah, you told me.
because we were aiming for it to be comparable to an official dub, it was really difficult finding actors who were able to meet the standards that we needed. We basically, like, here's the standards that we basically had laid out for our actors. We, first and foremost, they had to be a good fit for the character, obviously. Second, they had to be able to deliver a performance that was equal to that of a professional actor, even if they were an amateur, which basically meant that our like category of actors that we were looking for were like amateurs who were like just on the precipice of like about to go pro. Like that was kind of like our demographic of actors that we were looking for. And then on top of that, they had to be delivering professional level audio from home, which, contrary to popular belief in the like abridging fan like amateur community,
Dubbing,
yeah,
the
like
YouTube,
like
Twitter
most
world,
people seem to think
basically.
that like professional audio is like an AT-2020 and a Scarlett Solo. It is not. It is thousands of dollars worth of equipment to be delivering pro level audio. I mean, we had some people that were able to get away with a little bit less than that, because their recording setup was just that good and their recording space was just that good. But yeah, for the most part, like, they basically had to have like a legit setup, which, the same kind of setup that a true pro would have, which further narrowed down the pool. And then to top it all off, we didn't have a budget, so they had to be able to match all of those standards while working for free.
Oh man.
So it was very much a needle in the haystack kind of deal, and we did a casting call where we put out, and we got like 110 auditions or something on that casting call, and there was one guy on that casting call that we actually cast. It was our narrator for the beginning part, and he did a great job. We had a great recording session with him.
Nice.
But everybody else, we were like, yeah, no, this isn't, these people are not, either like there was an issue with their acting or like a fit for the character, or they just didn't have the audio that we needed. So we started like reaching out to people that we knew personally. I reached out to a bunch of like actors that I knew locally that I knew would be able to come to my booth to record. Like Annika was going out on casting call, going out on YouTube, going everywhere, just like literally listening to demo reels, and then like just messaging people and being like, hey, heard your demo reel, would be really cool if you auditioned for this thing. Are you interested? And so like there was a lot of like messaging people out of the blue, just like, hey, we have a project. Are you interested? To find people that we needed. So there was a lot of that, and we met a lot of really incredible talent, and we eventually were able to put together a really awesome cast. We did actually have some people who were professional actors who came in to help out, and at least one of our actors has our Reyna, Lisa Remold, has gone on since doing Delta to go do professional dubs. She's in Ascendance of a
amazing.
Bookworm now as Turi.
Yo, that's my favorite. Yo, that's one of my favorite shows.
Yeah,
No
she played.
fucking
Yeah,
way,
she's playing
dude, that's
Turi in Ascendance of a
awesome.
Bookworm now. She's also like in like some new Madoka stuff, like Madoka Magica.
Dude, that's absolutely wonderful. That's like me and Emmy's favorite show.
So it was really, really cool to work with the cast. Once we like had all of our cast together, which took a very long time. It was like a several month long process trying to collect all the people.
Yeah.
That's when we got into like the nitty gritty of the audio. And that's where I guess one of the things that really was sort of uber difficult that we thought would maybe save time, but at the end of the day, I don't know how much it did. So in order to save time, we wanted to only redo the audio in the places where the characters spoke, because we wanted to retain as much of the original audio as possible. We knew that there was going to be extra challenges that came along with that, and making sure that all the transitions between our new audio and the original audio were seamless.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
I appreciate it. It was definitely intense because it proved to be a much harder task than I initially anticipated. And so that's why at the end of the day, I don't know how much time it actually saved. And even still, it's a half-hour episode, and 2/3 of it is still brand new audio. So of that half hour, 20 minutes of it is new. So we only saved like 10 minutes of audio.
You really, and it probably did actually take more time to do it the way you thought of, which is a good learning experience. You know what I mean? Like, you learned, like, hey, maybe next time we should just redo all the audio in general. At least, like, for the like, I guess it makes sense, but like, there's the intro of a show where there's no audio. Like, for instance, like the intro. But like, that makes a lot of sense because it, like, when I was watching it, man, it really felt like all the audio was absolutely genuine. Like, you did a really good job, man. Bro. Like, it sounds amazing.
Definitely the largest, most complicated mix I ever did, which you don't normally see this kind of stuff in like an official dub, right? Because in an official dub, there might be instances where maybe you need to like add some sound effects, or maybe like you need to redo some portions for like really contrived reasons. But in general, in the official dubbing world, you get what's called an M&E mix, a music and effects mix.
Yeah, I heard about it from Trash Taste. They just send you everything without the vocals. They just send it to you.
Yeah,
like,
just Funimation goes a step further. They receive stems, so they like receive breakouts of like dialogue, sound effects, music, Foley, like backgrounds, all that stuff. But most of the time, the standard deliverable is going to be an M&E mix. So it makes it so that it's kind of like a karaoke track for an anime, right? Yeah. That's basically what it is. And when you're doing fan dubs, you're not given that privilege. Those are official production materials. No, you're not gonna hand that to some kid in their basement, right? So we had to redo the stuff anytime the character spoke. A lot of the time, we had to redo more than that in order to find like good places to like cut transitions and whatnot. So that got very, very complicated, and it was a huge mix. It was the largest mix I've ever done. That mix had 237 tracks in it.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
You can just hear Fuffy fainting there. Mere thought.
Yeah, he's fainting in the back. Did you use some Pro Tools?
I mean, it.
What program do you use?
Yeah, for a mix like that, there is no other option than Pro Tools Ultimate. You just can't have a session that large in Pro Tools Standard. So Pro Tools Ultimate is like the top of the line Uber industry standard pro level version of Pro Tools, and it's like $2,500. It's super expensive. So yeah.
Bro, it sucks. I don't know why. Why do they make, you probably answered, why do they make DAWs and audio workstations so expensive?
Well,
like, why is it that FL Studios cost $800 for the professional, like, for instance, Pro Tools Ultimate costs like $1,200, $2,000.
Well, I mean, Pro Tools Standard is like $600. So it's comparatively more reasonable. But I mean, it has to do with, I mean, first of all, I mean, in the case of Pro Tools, there's very real name recognition there. I mean, they know full well that they're the industry standard, and they're marking to the top pros. So in that regard, the name definitely plays a part. But the other thing is just like the feature set. You'll hear a lot of people complain about Pro Tools. I personally love it. I haven't really had much issue with Pro Tools. I don't understand like all these people saying that they have a bunch of errors with it.
The reason why is because so I come from the music world. You're hearing complaints from the music world. Making music and beats in Pro Tools is like the worst thing.
Yeah,
in the
it's
whole
not good
entire
for
universe.
it's not good for MIDI.
Compared
it's not
to
good for
everything
MIDI.
else. Yeah. Apps. That's why you hear like, because Pro Tools is an industry standard pretty much across the board. Like anything audio, they use it in. I've only been to a couple of professional studios like to record actual music before. Only like 2 or 3 times when I was signed to Moonlight Records, and then when I worked with, there's this small studio here in Central Florida called like, what's it called, like Peach Studios or something like that, some kind of fruity name studios. And they've had people like Justin Bieber, Usher, all the huge names, DJ Khaled, Drake, all these people have come to the studio to record music and produce music here. And I got the chance to go there and like spend like 72 hours worth of time producing some tracks, which is really cool. And they use Pro Tools. And like, dude, but like it's a pain in the ass, man. Like FL Studios is definitely way more catered to making beats than Pro Tools.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Pro Tools has always been about like recording and mixing and editing, not beat making. It was never designed for that, really. It kind of like had to add that stuff later on.
Which is why most studios have like multiple ones. So they got like FL Studios, Ableton.
Logic,
they have because they use them for different. Yeah, Logic. They use them for different processes throughout the production. You know what I mean? I would guess Pro Tools would probably be the final mix. Of like putting everything together.
As far as I'm concerned, there is no other DAW out there that is a match for Pro Tools when it comes to mixing. But yeah, and especially if you're doing post and you're dealing with these huge sessions with hundreds of tracks. Like being able to easily
Premiere's
navigate
looking
that's...
pretty good.
Yeah, Audition's looking pretty good,
not
guys.
Audition.
Yeah, Premiere Pro.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so it's super expensive because of the feature set and because it's the industry standard. And they know that they can get away with charging that kind of cash. And also, they don't do like they don't like unlike a lot of other like stuff that's doing this now. Like they don't do mandatory like subscription services to like you can get like perpetual licenses still, which that's happening less and less.
Yeah, you just
so in order to make that financially viable, they kind of have to make those perpetual licenses like super expensive. So. So we would use Pro Tools, and it was just a lot of audio, recording brand new Foley, right? It's like not going into like libraries and pulling like cloth sounds and whatnot, like actually going into the booth, recording brand new cloth to picture.
I did that with a couple of the fan dubs. The Inuyasha one that I showed you, I did that. I would literally like some of the drawers, the buckets, like the little waist bin rolling across the floor. I literally rolled my waist bin across the floor and recorded it with like my like Yeti that I had at the time. Like I literally just like I did that a couple times, like drawers and stuff. Back on Abridged, we did that.
You can often wind up with better stuff that way. Like doing all of that. There were some instances where I had to get creative music-wise, do like I had to like redo some music cues from scratch in some places, and that was a time. And then also, one of the other challenges was like it's about like basically military grade idols. So there's singing in it, and so we had to redo some of the singing. And so we had like singing voices for some of the characters, and that was its own challenge. So yeah, it was a massive undertaking. And I mean, if it came out sounding, pro, the reason for it is because for all intents and purposes, the production side of it was pro.
It was you did an amazing job, and I can't wait to show you both like afterwards, like after this, if especially Sean, if you stick around. Like this is something so impressive, and it sucks that I feel so bad for you, Brian, that you can't show it off more than you honestly do with like your close friends. Cause like, dude, it's so impressive. Like,
Oh, I appreciate it.
dude, like the immersion, bro. I can't. I'll fangirl, bro. I fangirl over you too much.
It's
I give you too much credit.
Stark contrast to the fan project that I was in. I was in a fan dub, and that's my career gone down the drain. Now I've said that. No, I was in a fan dub, and basically, like, I had to do, and it was my first time doing quote unquote ADR. So I basically had the
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. It occurs to me
go
that
ahead.
like we've been talking about like all this stuff in ADR and whatnot, but for the audience, we haven't actually explained what ADR is.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as ADR is basically recording dialogue to picture. In live action, you would do ADR if like some audio on set just really sounded awful, and so you bring the actor back to a studio to like redo it. And
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Wolverine's a great example. Wolverine, they did that every time.
And I mean, it happens. There's generally some level of ADR in pretty much all productions. But in the case of anime dubbing, it's all ADR.
Yeah.
So it's very different from like what we'd consider prelay voiceover, where you just hit the record button and you just go, and you're not trying to match it to anything.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Yeah, which is the great thing about
Yeah.
abridging, because
that
we
was
do
the,
lip syncing, like we do.
Well, that was the thing, like, because I'd only ever done abridged voice acting, so like where you're not a slave to the flaps. So that I was then going into this thing where I had to be a slave to the flaps, and so I was like, how am I gonna do this? So what I had to do was I printed off my copy, this is in my completely professional wardrobe as a closet to those in the States, and I was using trouser coat hangers, the ones with the clips on. I was using them as a clipboard, so I'd have my copy, so my script just hung on them, and then I would have my my tablet with the episode in question that I would have to match the flaps, and I would just have to keep on. It's not ADR in like it's not. That's why I say quote unquote ADR, because it's not recording. It's not recording direct onto the. It's not embedding the audio onto the video.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's me doing it. Wild, as you said before. But I'd be like, I'd watch the scene, I'd listen to it, and I just watch it several times, and then I would just move my mouth whenever they'd move their mouth, like not saying anything, and I just end up just trying to repeat the line over and over, and oh my god, that was such a, pardon my French here, fucking ball ache.
Oh yeah.
I was only in it for like 2 scenes, but I'm so glad that I didn't get the part of the protagonist now, because doing a side character almost killed me.
ADR is definitely a practiced form of acting. It is, in my opinion, probably one of the hardest forms of acting there is, because you're so constrained. And I guess that was one of the reasons why it was so important for us in casting to make sure that we got people who were really, really good, because if they were going to have a massive amount of trouble with ADR, especially if they had a lot of lines, it was going to make things exceedingly difficult. Some people, start out really rough with ADR, and then the more they do it, they get like really good at it. Some people are just magically good at it from the start.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with ADR. I haven't done like huge. Me and Shuggy attempted
and I.
to the girl who plays RWBY. Yeah, the girl who plays RWBY in our abridged series, we attempted to do a Don Manchi or how not to pick up girls in a dungeon. We attempted to do a full fan dub of the entire series because in 2015 there wasn't an English dub yet, and the show came out in like 2012. So we were like, okay, yeah, there's probably never going to be an English dub, but that year an English dub suddenly came out from Funimation, which was so weird.
Actually, I think
but,
it's
like,
Sentai.
We had written a full script.
Yeah.
Sentai, yeah, maybe it was Sentai Filmworks, but like they had just released an English dub out of nowhere. Like they were just like, hey, here's one, and we're like, what the? We were like almost done with it. Like I was playing I was playing Belle, and she was playing of course the Hysteria. Hestia, sorry.
Hysteria's a pretty good description of her.
Yeah. Hysteria, right? but like we were like pretty much almost halfway done with it. Like we had pretty much had all the lines recorded, and I was the one. I was putting all the audio together, and like that was my thing. I really loved Foley work and like doing all that stuff. But like, you know, the English thing dropped, and we were doing it as a big fan thing for the people who loved the show, because at the time there was no season 2. No one thought there was going to be a season 2. They hadn't even announced a season 2. We thought the show was just dead, and we're like, there needs to be more attention. It's a really good story. But like, you know, other than the small stuff, that's the biggest thing I've ever done, and I've never really had an issue with doing ADR, not once. Like I'm usually pretty good at getting it, you know, the first like 3 or 4 times, you know, going through, and then after that, it's like, okay, I've matched up the words. Now we got to add the emotion, and then you go and you're like, okay, add the emotion or like the complexities of like how it's supposed to sound. And then you got ADR, you know what I mean? Like, it's never been a big issue for me.
But submit your lines. That's been a big issue for you, hasn't it?
That's a big issue for me. It's always been a big issue.
Like, another thing that's like, you know, it wasn't so much an issue on Delta, but it's definitely been an issue on like other like smaller productions, is like trying to convince actors like, no, really, I don't want you to process your audio. Like, let me do that. Like...
Yeah.
Fuffy, take the floor.
Yeah, I've gotten... Yeah, take the floor, Fuffy. Go ahead.
I agree with that entirely. And that they should not process their audio. I mean...
Dude, hell yeah, dude.
It's a lot, and the fact of the matter is, anytime you're processing the audio, even if you think you're adding something in, that's not possible. Like you're just distorting the original sound, which then will be distorted more in the thing that the editor does.
To all the VAs out there, amateur VAs on Twitter and YouTube.
You're working with someone who's so shit that they don't process the audio at all, and you know that, and you're like, damn it, I have to do this, or else like at least I'm gonna be the one good sounding person. But then at that point, just be like, hey, you need an audio person? I'll do it. Get your foot in the door. Make those connections. And start doing audio work so that, like, there will be actual people who do fan work that do the audio side of stuff.
Yeah. We, like, honestly, that's something that I'd love to see change. Sorry, like, before I get on that, just going back quick to the fucking people processing their audio. Don't even get me fucking started on doing the dialogue edit for RWBY Abridged Volume 1, Chapter 10, okay? I worked so hard to clean up such shit audio from people who had, like, done some, like, pre-processing. I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, because they're, like, wonderful people and I love them, and they don't do it anymore. But, God, it was a pain in the ass. But anyways, like, that is something that I would really love to see more of in, like, the amateur, like, abridged fan dub community, is seeing more dedicated audio engineers. Because right now, it feels like video editor and audio engineer are kind of like an overlapping thing.
The same thing.
In the fan community. Really is, and that's just not the way it is in the professional community at all. They are two completely separate disciplines. So, like, trying to, like, see the fan community start to resemble the professional community a little bit more in certain regards, I think would be really, really beneficial. Because, like, I mean, you want to talk about what led Macross Delta to being the quality that it was. A big part of it is, I mean, yes, we had a lot of really high-end tools. We had Pro Tools Ultimate, we had Isotope RX Advanced, We had I had the entire Isotope post-production suite, that gave me access to, Neutron and all of this really, really high-end stuff that I used to mix it. Is all very, very expensive stuff, and that definitely contributed. But the core thing was that for myself and all of the other audio engineers that I brought on to work on it, they were all people with pro experience who know how this stuff is actually done in the pro world, right? And so it was just a matter of doing it the way the pros do it. But that's, especially in audio post-production, that's not information that is readily available to most people. You really have to go digging to find information on how this stuff is actually done. And so I feel like there are a lot of people in the abridged community, in the fan community, that are doing their editing and doing all of their audio in Premiere, that actually think that that's how it's done in the pro world, and it's just not.
No.
So I'd like to see that was actually a kind of big motivation for me, becoming the head of the audio department at KRWBY. It was kind of an opportunity for me to take some new engineers under my wing within the fan community and teach them from my experience, because I've gotten to work under some really, really incredible people, people who have done, major stuff, big blockbuster films, and learn from those guys. And so it was an opportunity for me to kind of take what I had learned there and impart some of that wisdom onto some new engineers in the fan community, and with the hope that maybe they could take that knowledge of how this stuff is actually done and run with it and teach other people in the community and have that blossom, and then just more and more engineers, dedicated engineers, take shape in the community. That's kind of my dream, I guess, is seeing the role of audio engineer be more widely recognized and more widely used in the fan community.
Which leads us
100%
on this lovely segue.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm nervous now.
Oh.
Into the unrecognized, the people unrecognized in production, the ones the unsung heroes and all that.
In terms of professional production, or in terms of fan production?
Both.
Let's just go with both.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of unsung heroes in professional production. There are so many people involved in making a movie or making a TV show. And generally the actors, the directors, and the writers are the ones that get all the credit.
Costume people too. They get a lot of credit, costume wise. I think that's a good name. Those are recognizable, but people are there's for instance, a good one. This is a perfect example of unsung heroes. It's not really necessarily voice acting, but you guys remember the first Silent Hill game for PS? What was it? 1 or 2? I can't remember. But there was one guy who helped out all around the office. There was this office. It was 55 people working on the game, right? And it was a Japanese company, so you know how this goes. He would help out with modeling and everybody. All these senior staff people didn't really know how to do it, but he did. And he would help out all over the place. I can't remember his name, so I'm going to look it up here in a second. But he asked to be put on the credits, and they told him no. And he said, well, you know what? Then I'm going to take care of all of the animation in the game. This is a 19-hour game. And he took care of all the animation. And all of it. Every cutscene you see, every bit of animation in the game, every 3D model, he would spend for 3 months straight, he lived at the office. And would at night, he would export all this, again, computers were super slow back then. He would export all of that data just so he could get credit on the game. Those are he's not so much of an unsung hero now, but there's people like that out there who don't get as much credit. You got small animators, the animators of usually the studio gets credited But it's not very often I hear. There's one animator in particular that I know of who's worked on tons of stuff. He's worked on One Punch Man, My Hero Academia, Naruto. He's the guy who animated the Naruto fight scene and directed its choreography and everything. That guy. I cannot remember his name, but he's the only time I've ever heard of an animator called out.
Well, I mean,
directly.
there are a handful, especially in Japan.
like-
There are like celebrity animators. I mean, you've got people like Yo-Yo Shinari.
Yeah.
You know, doing like, you know, is known for his work like with Gainax and like doing that kind of stuff. I mean, you know, doing like Little Witch Academia, doing Promare. But you know, and there's like also, I can't remember his name, but there's like a dude who's like a famous freelance animator who like does all these like crazy fight scenes. Like he did like Deku versus Todoroki.
That's what it is. It's right here. It's right here. His name is Norio Matsumoto. Matsumoto. That guy. That one. Yeah, that one. That guy. He's like huge because of his like the way he conceptualizes physics into his animation instead of it just making it look weird. He's worked on shows like Naruto Shippuden. He's worked on My Hero Academia, One Punch Man. Like, you know, the block animation, like when an explosion happens, the big block, like that's him. That's his thing. I love this animator
so like you do have
much.
celebrity animators and people talk like in the anime community about like animation all the time, but yeah, it's true that like you generally don't see, unless it's like somebody super specific where it's like a celebrity animator, you generally don't hear people talking about individual animators because a lot of the time you don't know who did what cut. You know, like you see the names of the animators, but you don't know who did what most of the time. So there's definitely like that. I mean, I'm certainly biased in this, but I definitely feel like audio is probably one of the biggest unsung heroes in production.
I believe
because
totally right.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it's like if you do your job right, people don't notice, but it's such a huge part of production. Whereas like, you know, with something like Deku versus Todoroki, it's like, you know, he did, not to undercut like the work that he did because it's amazing, but you know, he did like one cut in that whole episode, right? And he made that cut amazing and it's very striking.
Yeah. What was the big explosion cut,
well, yeah,
right?
and like the whole like thing where
the
like Todoroki is
impact.
like, you know, gearing up and like all the fire and stuff like.
Deku's gearing up, and they go and clash in the giant explosion with the Matsumoto blocks.
Fangirls creaming themselves everywhere.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing sequence, and it definitely makes the whole episode, but it's just one sequence in the episode. Whereas, like, audio is literally 50% of the experience. If the audio is wrong, the visuals feel wrong. So,
after meeting you, I have come, especially like over the past like 3 4 months.
Can we just pause? Can we just stop there and just say, after meeting you, I have come.
Don't you know it, honey?
Every time. Don't you know it, honey?
Don't you know it,
absolutely.
honey?
No, but like after we become friends and like I ask you questions all the time about audio and like me and Fuffy always nitpick your brain and stuff. Like, and honestly, you should pay a service for it. Like, I have come so much to like adore audio. Like when I'm watching a show, like if the audio is even slightly off, it throws me the fuck off. Like I'm watching a new show right now. I think I told you about it the other time we were talking like a few days ago. Sirius on Netflix. That one about the vampires and the werewolf boy. And that one has really good audio engineering. Like it sounds awesome. And like I only notice it now because of you. Like I only look at it, I'm like, yo, that like there was one anime I was watching and like I can't remember what it was, but like he said something, this character said something, and it was like, wow, they are in a totally different space right now. That is so weird. Why he's standing right there? Why does he sound like that? Like it was just the weirdest mixing I've ever heard, and I would only notice it because of you.
I mean, I'm glad to hear you say that because like
For
people,
real.
a lot of the time people think I'm crazy. Like, you know, they just think that I'm like tricking myself and hearing things that don't exist. But like
he's not
like,
crazy, guys. He is telling
I
truth.
fucking a little while back I went off on I can't remember which episode it was. I think it's like Certain Scientific Railgun T episode 15 or something like that. The mix in that episode is one of the best TV anime mixes I've ever heard. Like, it just blew my mind, and I was like, I want to know who the fuck this re-recording mixer is, because they did such an incredible job mixing this episode. And you couldn't find the information anywhere. I was like, what the hell? Probably be easier to find it if, you know, I could read Japanese. But, like, yeah, I remember just going off on that, and then, like, hearing what they did in the English dub, and being like, okay, it's not a bad mix, but it's just not nearly as good as what the Japanese version was. Like, there was so much brilliance in the Japanese mix, and some of that brilliance has been kind of stepped on in the English version. And that's another thing that I'm very, very passionate about, that people, like, nobody thinks about. But there have been so many instances that I've heard where, like, there's a really, really great mix in the original Japanese version, and then I hear the English version, it's just like, that is not even close to as good of a mix.
Bro, honestly, there's the one anime that I can bring up right now where, personally, I feel the English mix outdoes the Japanese, and I'm gonna probably get maybe a little bit of hate in the comments for this one.
I
agree. My Hero
agree.
Academia mix,
I agree.
like the mixes. I agree 100%. Dude. The season finale of season 1, like when All Might punches the Nomu through the glass. I listened to the Japanese one when he's like, you know, and like, I'm like, what the fuck was that scream, bro? Like, I'm like, what the fuck? And then you hear Chris, the guy who voices Vegeta in the current, you know, he's voiced Vegeta for like 10 years at this point. He plays All Might, and his scream and the mix and the sound, it's so breathtakingly amazing, and like, it just gets you hyped as fuck, bro, and you're like, yeah, bitch, like, it's just, oh, and like, oh, dude, I can't get over. I could sit here and talk about.
I haven't like gone and done like a direct comparison between some of the more recent seasons, but I know that at least in season 1 of My Hero Academia, because the dialogue mix in season 1 in the Japanese version, the dialogue was very much just like sitting on top of the mix all the time. Like, the dialogue felt pretty disconnected through most of it, but like, you get to the English mix and it just blends so well into the environment, and you're just like, that's the way it should be.
I think another reason for it is also, and this might be just the show in general, but the specific story, and it's because of All Might, because he's a Westerner, you know, he's from the United States, and he uses a lot of English words. My Hero Academia uses a fuck ton of borrow. Like, I've never seen so many borrow words in an anime other than My Hero. They have so many. Like, all the hero names are English words that have been Japanified, and like, all of the attack names are like, you know, Japanified, like, words from America. And so, like, when they do their attacks, it just sounds so hollowed out, because they're like, you know, he does like the plus ultra, and then you got plus ultra, and like, he fucking just he like says it right, you know, in his proper English, and like, and it hits different, dude.
It hits different.
It's it hits different. It's power names with sass, okay? And it sounds so much better. Like, it just does. And I think it's only because I think the reason why is maybe, especially now, is just because the English, they use so many borrowed words.
I know that there are people who are like, fuck the My Hero dub. You know what? The My Hero dub is one of my favorite dubs.
Fuck the My Hero dub. It's so hot, like, I'd fuck it.
Like,
bro,
Colleen Clinkenbeard is such a phenomenal ADR director. And, like, like, I understand some people being like, oh, I prefer this voice over that voice. Like, I understand. But like the one I hear the most is like Present Mic, and it's like, okay, cool. I think the English Present Mic is good, but like, I understand why people like, you know, the Japanese Present Mic more.
I like in the Japanese version.
Well, it's also like, because
clap your hand.
Yeah. But like,
well, it's because, you know, the DJ has such a charm to the
very
Japanese.
much so.
That's why, you know, with the rolling of
like,
the R's.
I understand
who
that,
does
but like,
his voice?
you know, people are like, oh, but like, it's the dialogue is so stilted and like, it feels so weird, and I mean, well, there is some truth to that, but the thing is that, like, you know, this is kind of my experience also in, like, you know, doing dubs and whatnot, is that you're very limited by the original script. And what people don't seem to realize, probably because they don't know that much Japanese, is that the script is stilted even in Japanese. Like, it's all very manga, like the way it's written.
Yes.
And so, like, it's actually a very faithful English script in that regard, in, like, its stiltedness. It's just, like, it's part of the charm of My Hero Academia in both versions. It's just, for us English speakers, a lot of people don't seem to realize that nature of the dialogue in the Japanese version because they don't know Japanese.
Bro, I hate it when people get on VAs, like English VAs now. Like, I get it before, like, let's say post 2013. I get it. Like, being an English VA for anime, unless you were
like
in like Naruto or
mean?
One Piece or Dragon Ball or whatever. Yeah, like pre-2013, it was like, yo, okay, there was a good amount of shitty, because, like, you know, VAing an anime wasn't that big of a deal. It was like, oh, we're just gonna fucking get in the booth, do whatever, and leave, right? But now anime is so culture, such a big thing here. I'll be honest with you, when I listen to My Hero Academia, like, since we're on this show specifically, I don't, like, they got the VAs.
Oh man, I love the English cast.
Like, real well.
People are gonna.
Oh yeah.
People are gonna hate me for this. People are gonna hate me for this.
Go ahead.
I prefer Clifford Chapin as Bakugo. Okay.
Hot takes.
I love both
Dude,
Bakugos,
facts.
but Clifford Chapin, man, like.
I love them both, bro. Exactly, dude. Dude, I prefer Chris as All Might compared to the English VA, just because, again, it's the English thing. It has to do with all of All Might's attacks and phrases are pretty much Japanese borrow words. So when you hear it in English properly, it has so much more fullness. Their voices are pretty much the same, but, like, when those attacks actually happen and, like, he says those words, Chris just takes it because he's English. He speaks
Detroit
it
Smash!
and like. Yeah, exactly. And it's just better. But like when people are like, I feel like people just do it because they're snobby, and they're like, you watch dubbed only, you're such a freaking loser. I'm like, shut up, man. Like, who fucking cares? Just, I don't want to listen. For people like I can watch anime for the most part, not all the way, but I can, like, turn off the subs and generally kind of understand what might be happening on the screen. I'm not that great at Japanese as much as I like to say I am, but, like, I have a general understanding of the language and, like, what's going on. But, like, not a lot of people do. And, like, not a lot of people have the patience to sit there and try and listen to fucking, like, the Japanese and read the subtitles and miss all the shit. Not everybody knows how to watch the screen and read at the same time. That's a skill that comes over time. All right? So when people sit here and they're like, fuck dub, I'm like, you're such a fucking poser, bro. Like, stop sitting here and hating on people for watching dub. Like, who cares? Like, be happy that we even get English dubs. It's so nice to be able to watch something in your own language. Like,
it's a placebo effect because they can't understand that the original Japanese is just as awkward, going back to what Brian had said.
Yeah, exactly. For real, they don't understand. Like, dude, like I can tell when Japanese voice acting is bad. Like, I'm able to tell that. They're not. They'll look at her and they'll hear him go, skida, ra,
I'm
like, shut
really
the fuck up, dude. Like, for instance,
not emotional, but like a sort of dark show that's, I don't know, just like got a seriousness that I know would seem cool to 13-year-old me. Current me would think it's kind of weird, but if I do it in my mind's voice and I either read a manga or I like watch something subbed, I can like put the coolness in my head into what they're saying. Yeah. Even though I know if it's someone actually saying this to me, I'd be like, what the fuck kind of fan fiction is this?
Yeah.
There's one show that I can bring up where the Japanese like voice acting was pretty subpar. And I'm gonna get so much hate for so much.
Oh, yeah.
Black Clover. The Japanese voice acting for Asta, because he was an amateur. That was his very first anime. Was trash. And that was mainly on part because that's the way they made the character.
Yeah,
and it's not really his fault. But, like, man, he was so fucking annoying.
Yeah,
just
I mean,
screaming
that one was
all the
very
time.
much like that was very much on the voice director though, like because like that was something that clearly the voice director was asking him to do over and over and over again. It's just like, okay, can you like maybe
and then, like, he's a really good voice actor.
Change your pitch at least of the scream.
Yeah, like. Because the thing is, Black Clover was an original animation. That was an OVA. Then they made a manga. That one was like that was 2 studios coming together.
Is that true? I'm pretty sure the manga came first.
They made their no. It was made by it was made by people. It was an original show that was made by the Naruto guys. The guys who produced Naruto. They're the ones who made the show. As far as I understand, that's what I remember. I might be wrong, but when the show first came out in like 2017 or some shit. That was like the big thing. I saw the trailer and they were like, from the people who produced Naruto and like another anime. I can't remember. It was like another anime. And they're like, check out this new show.
Yeah.
Black Clover. And it was basically the
the manga started
of, like,
in
2015
studios. And the anime started in 2017. Yeah.
Okay. Then I am standing corrected. Okay, no problem. But still. Again, still. The voice actors, again, because they're doing it in Japanese first, the voice actors are the ones who set the pace for the animation, and they can do whatever they want. They're not attending to any kind of flip-flops by any means. They animate afterwards.
Not quite. Japan is different.
Japan. Well, I only know this because of Joey, the anime man, and like he talked about like being in a couple anime and stuff like that, and they get them all into a room and they're reading the script live. Like,
it's kind of like pseudo ADR. The way they do it in Japan, because they do it to what's called an animatic, and so they have everything timed out properly, and they have pictures on the screen, but most of the time the animation isn't completely done, so they can still do like lip flaps and stuff, but they still have to like match
of course
the appropriate timings that they're supposed to match. Yeah,
the action, but they're not like
they're not
trapped, you know
constrained
what I mean? They have
in
control.
nearly the same way that
Exactly. So when you have this VA for Asta screaming every 5... Dude, I'm not kidding. Someone did a compilation of episode 1.
Oh, I saw it. I saw that compilation.
And literally 15 minutes of the episode is him screaming the whole time.
It's really, really annoying. But like in terms of like the freedom that the Japanese actors have, like I didn't know this, and I probably should have, because I have the light novels. Have you guys seen Konosuba?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like
yes.
The Kazuma's catchphrase, like, you know, hi Kazuma desu, right? Kazuma dayo, right? Like that thing, like, yes, I'm Kazuma. Yeah,
I'm Kazuma.
That's not in the light novels. That was ad-libbed in the recording session, and it just stuck.
It became the meme. Yeah.
And so they just like started writing it into the scripts after that.
Oh, good example. Naruto, believe it. That's one. He would say datebayo.
It means
datebayo
nothing.
Doesn't really necessarily translate. Yeah, it means nothing. It's literally so there's this thing in Japan where certain dialects or people will put a catchphrase on the end of a sentence. For instance, like you'll hear like Neko characters put nya at the end of their like sentences.
My kind of character.
Or something like that. Yeah. They'll put like nya, or they'll put like a catchphrase at the end of. I can't remember what the name of it's a certain thing in the anime world that they do. They do this. It's a very real thing. Naruto used to say datebayo at the end of like every second other line. Whenever he was talking about being a Hokage, he would just put datebayo at the end of his line because that was like his thing. It was his catchphrase, and it meant nothing, but they had to lip sync it with something in English, so they came up with the catchphrase believe it, which matched up with datebayo, and it was perfect, and that became Naruto's thing. And now whenever you see datebayo in, like, if you're watching Naruto, like, and they watch the sub, they'll put, whenever he says datebayo, they'll put believe it underneath. Just because, like, it's like, hey, that's what it means now.
I love Japanese so much, like, especially all of like the endings and stuff, like, because like Annika and I, we have names like for types of anime characters that end their sentences differently. Like, you know, you've got your desuars, and you've got your kashirars, you know, and so
your fucking how do you say please again?
Onegaishimasu.
No. It's kudasai ne. Kudasai ne. You throw kudasai ne at the end of a sentence.
So you've got all these different endings that are just help define a character so well, and there's just no proper translation for most of that stuff in English.
It's like in the Chinibyo. in the original audio in the sub, the character of Dekumori would always over pronunciate the desu to sound like death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just little things like that. Like you wouldn't get you lose that in the dub.
Yeah.
You know,
and you have to like, you know, that's one of the things that's really interesting about doing localization for like, you know, any kind of dub, fan dub or you know, or official dub, is one of the things that kills me is when I talk to people about writing ADR scripts for anime, and they're like, oh, well, it's just like, it's not like real writing, because, you know, you've already got like a script that you're working off of, so you just have to like translate it, and it's
bullshit.
like, no, this, like, it is real writing. It is really, really important that you understand who these characters are, that you understand this story, you understand the world that these characters inhabit, and just all you have to be
Absolutely.
a full-blown writer in order to write a good script. It's real script writing, because a lot of the time you're going to wind up with situations where either you don't have enough lip flaps or you have too many lip flaps for what was originally said, or you wind up with a translation that's just like, yeah, that is a Japanese only thing, and we need to figure out a way to translate this idea believably into English, like this concept into English.
Yeah.
And you have to get really, really creative in making sure that you're staying within the character's voice, and that you're having the character say stuff that makes sense for the character to say, while also essentially having them say something completely different from what they originally said.
Yep. I agree. Yep. Dude,
Yeah.
love it. Love a good chat. Love a good one. But we should definitely
Yeah, we've been going a while.
bring this to a close, at least. Yeah. We are definitely 30 minutes over our runtime. But that's what happens when we get Brian in a call.
God damn
Every
it,
time.
Natural. I'm sick of you taking up the runtime for unnecessary exposition. This is why you're such a bad writer.
You see,
It's okay. It's okay. He lagged the fuck out on my end. I'm not sure who else heard that. I know what he was saying, but he went quiet, and I went, "It's okay. It'll be in the recording. It's fine." But yeah, bro, you got anything to say, like to the audience? Anybody? We got a good reception for episode 1. So.
Yeah.
The 60-something people who actually watched.
Yeah,
the
I
first
mean,
one.
like, if you want to, I guess, like, follow me and stay up to date with what I'm doing. I don't usually update on my life, but you can find me, like, I'm on Twitter at HubbardAudio. And, you know, I'm also, of course, involved in KRWBY. I do a podcast every week called KRWBY Talk. Hosting that tomorrow, actually. And tomorrow, like, it's usually a podcast where, like, we're following some currently airing anime, and we just talk about it week to week as, you know, theories, predictions, like reactions, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
I would listen, but I haven't watched any ReZero.
Well, see,
Yeah,
the
that was-
next
we were talking about that.
next episode that I'm doing tomorrow is perfect then, because we're done with ReZero. We have one last. Tomorrow's episode is the last one. We're going to go on
sweet.
hiatus. We're not talking about ReZero. We're doing a summer anime recap where we're just kind of going to go back
Ooh.
over like all of
Oh,
the summer
sweet.
anime that we watched.
Dude, yes. Who's in the podcast with you? Who's in that podcast with you? Do you have different guests every time? or,
Usually
like,
the same
kind of
people.
and then
Every
a
now
guest?
and again,
What's up?
we might bring a guest on. But yeah. So I've got 2 people who I've been doing the podcast with since the beginning. We've been doing this podcast for years. Forrest and Ian. Ian's my oldest friend in the world, also a big anime fan, and my cousin Forrest, who's just a really good analytical mind. So he's great to have on the podcast. And then Katie's on the podcast as well. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
She's
I love
awesome.
Katie.
So,
She's amazing.
yeah, tomorrow we're going to be just kind of doing a summer anime recap, going back over a lot of the anime that we watched, if we thought it was good, if people should go back and check it out, or if, you know, maybe you could skip it. God of High School.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that one. Oh, that one failed.
It's a roller coaster of emotions.
I don't like the way God of High School.
fell
Yeah.
off.
That's for another podcast, bro.
But yeah, so anyways, we do that. I suppose this is probably going to come out after tomorrow's episode will have aired. But we'll
it's
be
probably gonna come out in like 2 days.
coming
this
back.
podcast.
We're gonna go on a hiatus for a couple weeks, and then we're gonna come back because RWBY is about to start up, and since our channel is RWBY centered, we're gonna be following RWBY, and we changed the title of the podcast for that to RWBY Talk. So if
Hell yeah. What was it called? Perpetually
No,
Ajar,
that's
right? Was
Katie's
the original
podcast.
name, right?
yeah, no, this is my
gotcha.
podcast.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, we'll put links for everything about our boy Brian here down below. His Twitter, his YouTube, if he has a YouTube, any
His
kind of links he
OnlyFans.
wants.
Yeah,
we'll put
his
them down there for you guys to
OnlyFans.
Go check him out.
Yeah,
Or his
my-
OnlyFans.
yeah. Come support me on my OnlyFans. It's just it's just like videos of it's just like audio porn of like videos of me doing sound design in Pro Tools.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
you-
just
like,
scandalous,
it's-
you know.
Yeah, it's
scandalous
the
compressors and shit.
it's the bare naked audio timeline. Yeah.
This is the thing though
my
now.
gosh.
You are actually going to have to go and make that OnlyFans. There's going to be people
Bro,
demanding
you
this.
probably get a lot of followers, bro. Yeah. From our boy Khun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this this episode. My name is Mason.
Hey, it's me.
That's Fluffy. That's Wild Boar. And you got Brian here who joined us today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the podcast or anything you heard today, go ahead and click the subscribe button down below and go ahead and hit that bell notification icon. We appreciate it so much when you guys do that. And leave a solid like down below and a comment for next episode. What you guys want us to talk about? What you think about this episode? Like what topics did you personally like or disagree with? Let us know in the comments. Get some conversations going, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. Janen.
Part of me really wanted to have a thing like right at the end where I'm like, also, if you're Thunder Muffin, who had left a comment originally and is only now getting to this point, I just want to say whatever your comment is, it's stupid.